And tonight, some really intense Doctor Who debate that will get you behind the sofa as we go live with the Senssphere channel.
Hello, one and all. So, the Senssphere Sunday supper of stellar chat. Yeah, try that when you've had a drink. Full of debate, news, nostalgia starts here. You cannot afford to miss a moment. I tell you, what a show, what amount of content. While Ncuti is doing the importance of being earnest, which many reviewers are labelling as high camp costuming and high elements of pantomime, I thought with all the news coming in and that Russell Davies interview, remember on Radio 4 Today programme, with the latest on Disney dumping or delaying their decision, whether streaming can survive, with news that season 2 will have a more emotional Ncuti than season 1, and Stephen Moffat saying that Christmas special had to tread carefully, that did not fall between the genres of comedy and science fiction. I think we must say, we think it's important that Doctor Who is not tarnished. Never mind being earnest. That is the overall theme of the debate and news tonight. Lots to join in there, so stick around, honestly. However, we've got a lot to weave in between all this. So if I just remind you of this, right? So, interwoven, almost like the impossible girl, Clara, was woven through the lives of all the doctors by the great intelligence. We will have vox pops from the Vortex. We will have a season 2 countdown with a few clues that came up in the Doctor Who magazine and various other places. We have a scheduling slumber blanket. Going back in the past, a bit of nostalgia. Look at the 1 or 2 schedules from the past and maybe compare it to our Christmas Day this year. Okay? So, in a classic timey-wimey way, we're looking back and we're looking forward tonight in various different ways to do with Doctor Who. So, McGann's 1996 movie was all about time, apparently said the slogan. So I better start while we still have time on this stream because there's a lot to pack in. So first of all, quick reminder, we did the detox on Friday where we discussed Capaldi's stipulations if he ever does come back. And a lot of people seem to conclude that rather he didn't, not because of his quality, but because we don't want him diluted. So we had a good look at that and had a good debate. So I think it's time I got my panel on and said hello to them. We've got the Queen of the Woke. She's about. Here she is.
Hi, everyone.
Good to see you. Are you well?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, when you're a streamer and you sometimes go, is there any news? Well, there's lots, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a fair bit of news, isn't there? Suddenly.
We'll be slicing them. Yeah. Here we go. And he's reading. Can we get him from his slumber of TV action? Hello, Jeremy.
Hello, you're right. Hello again. Hello to the thread.
I'm wondering how long your joy to the world will last once I go through this.
Yes. I was in Dalek Heaven then for a minute.
Well, of course, we are going to do a Plans to the Daleks review, which will drop at Christmas. You look out for it. And the Robots of Death. Oh, we're giving you Christmas treats, by God. We've got a new boy on our channel. Does he look like anybody in particular? I mean, I think myself, I don't know about you, Rachel, I think he looks like one of the old doctors, but I think he looks like probably Tom Baker's 4th Doctor. Here he goes. You've regenerated. Hello, Brian.
Again, he's back. Number 10's back.
Brian's across the pond, and he will not just kind of do timey-wimey, talky-fasty like David Tennant. He will obviously give us his views from across the pond.
In Canada.
Yeah, that's it. We also have, and he goes down very well. He plays Santa Claus during the day, and during the night, it's like Jekyll and Hyde. He's a changed man. So you know who it is. Here he's coming. Hiya.
Hello. And what's your name? And how old are you? Oh, sorry, wrong scenario.
Yeah. Have I been good? Have my streams been good? Have I been a good lad? Am I going to get presents?
Good enough. I'm keeping the coal on the side though, just in case.
Oh.
Well, don't be too nice. You are Mr. Contrarian, aren't you? You put us right on the thread on all things to do with Doctor Who. I did promise that tonight we're going to be fast. And I think the first thing I want to say is, just so everybody knows what's coming up in precise detail. Yes, I said there's news items coming up. Yes, the Russell interview, Disney decision, dump or delay, 15th Doctor More Emotion, streaming. Is it bound to fail, as Russell says? And Ncuti's nominated for the Best Actor. Of course he is. So there's plenty to talk about later, Gan. But we like our little item, Vox Pops in the Vortex, because basically it's whovians. It's Doctor Who fans. And rather than saying we're going to dominate with a whole debate all night with one topic, which will be whether Doctor Who's been tarnished, we've got all these mini ones that are all linked to it. So we might as well start with our first Vox Pops in the Vortex. And the first one is from my mate. When I do the detoxes on Fridays, he's in Tasmania. And he made this point. So see what the thread and the panel think of this, and we'll get a nice quick kind of conclusion before we go into our next item. Harsh truth, but modern audiences have dumbed right down. It isn't their fault, though. The media itself, especially internet social platforms, mobile phones, etc., have created generations that have no capacity for nuance, build-up of tension in narratives, and so on. Sadly, it has become a great loss for everyone, as what we get instead in loud, fast, flashy, but often far less substance and quality. And he does go on, but you get the point. And modern audiences are referred to. RTD refers to modern audiences and what they need. Regarding the war games in colour, we discussed that. Where do you stand on this one, Rachel? Do you think that over generally, never mind Doctor Who, that for some reason they think modern audiences don't want complexity and seriousness and all the rest of it?
Well, do they ever give them the chance to actually put that out there, though, in some respects? They've dumbed it down because they think they actually are dealing with, the iPad babies. But, I think people are smarter than that. Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it?
It's a tough one. It's just, I was watching another review today of a different play in London. Musical. And they were saying that was high camp and panto. And remember last week, some reviewers were saying the importance of being earnest with our Ncuti in it was high camp and panto. And you think, is there something going on in the West End, in the media, where they seem to think that instead of just giving us a play called The Importance of Being Earnest, they need to give us an elevated version? Instead of giving us Regency period Jane Austen, they give us Bridgerton and go high. You know what I mean? It's just everything's elevated.
What do you mean by elevated?
Elevated. Well, for example, Mr. Contrarian, the reviewers were talking about the kind of high camp costuming. So a bit like Bridgerton, you don't just do Regency, you do a kind of hyper Regency. You don't just do the Importance of Being Earnest. You go bigger and bolder and brasher and brighter. And so basically it's not quite the same. That's what they meant.
Rather than barbarized.
I mean, there was a movie on yesterday called The Importance of Being Earnest, made in 2002, and it looked so different to what I saw pictures from the National Theatre version. My God, it looked different. And of course, I know adaptations are allowed and interpretations are allowed. It's just there seems to be a vibe that I think Triple Jazz Musical, I agree on. There seem to be pitching to the whole of all viewers a certain kind of palette, which is bolder, brighter. We talked about the Jaguar effect last week, which was talking about go livid. And there's an element where they don't just give us the play, a story on TV. They seem to have to go louder, brighter, and everything. And RTD falls into this.
It's the edge. Everyone wants to create a new vision, but they've got to be edgy and they've got to be bigger and better than, say, Bridgerton or something like that. That's what they're trying to go for.
Yeah, I'll come to Jeremy, but as JWC says, good to see you. Elevators is a misnomer. It sounds like an improvement. I know. But in reality, it just means camped and jazzed up. It just means louder and more livid, as Jaguar says. Jeremy, where do you stand on this?
Yeah, it is a different interpretation. It's a modern day different interpretation of some of the classics, and they've done it with Doctor Who, obviously. And I don't think it pays off personally. But I mean, as I say, we've got the old classics to watch, or you can watch an old film, The Importance of Being Earnest, on television if you want to. But it's what they're presenting on the stage there is not really quite for me.
No, it just feels as though, I mean, there's space for everything. That's the point. But Brian, I mean, I don't know what you're saying in Canada, but are you seeing that the media diet seems to be that it has to be louder, brighter, brasher, hyper? Or am I going too far?
No, I mean, in Canada, we have the CBC and CTV, and I've heard people joke before that they can spot a Canadian TV show a mile away. There is some truth to that because it's just not as flashy, and the production values aren't as high as American television, which, quite frankly, is mostly what we get here now. They always refer to us, well, we're going to be the 51st state now, apparently.
You're on the way.
Too. But hey, no, it's because we get most of our entertainment from the US or streaming. It's kind of half and half, I guess is the way to put it. I mean, I personally have not, seen The Importance of Being Earnest, years since I've read, but it reminds me of during the 90s when they put out the film with Romeo and Juliet. Was that the one with Brian Dennehy? And it was supposed to be for the younger modern audience. And I turned it off after 15 minutes. I couldn't take it.
Mm.
So that's the closest analogy I could take it is that they did it for the younger audiences or to jazz it up, make it modern. And I didn't like it. Turned it off.
I'm of the boat that I would rather them write new stuff.
Yeah. If they think the modern audience needs something different, they go for it.
I think that's why people take to Bridgerton as well, because it's not trying to edge up something that was old. You know what? Do you know what I mean? It came in with something that was, it was a new take on the Regency era, a bit of a risky one, but it paid off.
Now, good to see you, Michael Nemo. He says this may have started in '94 with Michael Crichton's ER program in America that was shot and edited to make it hard for the viewer to change the channel, as in engaging, engrossing, immersive. The thing is, I think we heard RTD say this in 2005 that, Anton Decker on the other side, so we need to be louder, faster, more colourful. I don't think Michael Nemo, I heard RTD at any point saying he wanted to go down a kind of ER road about this immersion. I think he just wanted to blast the opposition out of the water with volume and colour. And he was successful, obviously, in 2005. It's just, I think fads have changed. It's 20 years ago, isn't it?
Very difficult with Anton Deck.
Yeah.
They are a difficult group. Yes, I've never watched them. That doesn't appeal to me, and I don't think it appeals to a large number of other people in the potential audience. To just try and catch the viewers of a particular large cohort that watch a particular program is missing the point. I mean, there's probably 70% of the potential audience who isn't watching anything at all and could watch something new and challenging and interesting. And that market is denigrated, ignored to the everybody suffers, frankly.
Well, as somebody, I say somebody, I flashed them up for a moment. It was Dread Newt, wasn't it? They're trying to bring modern audiences, but us as the fans are the ones that kept the show running for 60 years. And it is a balancing act. I mean, you do have to renew to a point, but I think the way they've gone about it under RTD2 and a bit of Chibnall, of course, is to really alienate a lot of people who did carry the show for many years, especially, let's not forget, the wilderness years. So the theme is established. We're not just talking about the importance of being Ernest the musical. Of course we're not. We're talking about Doctor Who, and we're talking about what's being said today on the Today program, what's being talked about with Disney, the Christmas trailer. There's so much to talk about, but we wanted, like I said, interweave a bit of nostalgia as well. And this is our first opportunity to kind of just make sure we have our kind of blood pressure just about right. So let's just remind you, some of you weren't born then, but I want to show you a bit of nostalgia.
Cough.
Here we go. Here we go. This is my scheduled slumber blanket item, and I've been working on this for, it feels like 1 or 2 minutes. Here we go.
These sensorites have found a way to take control.
It's our minds that they take over.
Speak up! I can't hear.
Earthmen have visited the set sphere,
but we do not wish to harm you.
William Hartnell. Let's go back. So, just so you can see a classic old schedule, just to make us all feel good on this Senssphere Sunday supper. Here we go. And I appreciate, Brian, it'll be a British one. And I know you'll be sending me some, hopefully in the future, maybe of that. So on this one, if you can't quite see it, we've got BBC One here, and you can see Wogan with Sue Lawley. Remember when Wogan was on, Terry Wogan, and he'd go on holiday, and you had Sue Lawley. Then you had Doctor Who, and of course, after that, Rockcliffe's Folly. And you go through, you had The Visit. I used to love The Visit with Desmond Wilcox, Esther Ranson's husband. And then you had Sports Night, in a variety of sport. If you're wondering what Doctor Who was against at 7:35, awkward time, isn't it? 7:35. You go across Coronation Street. Of course, we're in the dangerous, dodgy Sylvester McCoy period when our program was being treated shabbily. So what's interesting is, normally I talk about a Saturday night, but I just wanted to start off with this one. You can see Knots Landing in the afternoon. So Wogan, a chat show, Doctor Who, Rockcliffe's Folly, a drama, the news, and then you hit The Visit, a nice documentary, then Sports Night. But on ITV, you had Des O'Connor tonight. He had the stars on there, Rumpole of the Bailey and Coronation Street. So there you go. Do you want it back? Do you want this kind of period back?
Well, the trying to outdo people in the same time slot bit is completely pointless, always was. All right, back then, people watched television at a specific time, and that was the golden hour. And if you were going to get big viewing figures, that was what you had to hit. But that doesn't happen anymore. So there's no excuse for putting Doctor Who against Coronation Street, for example. You can put it anywhere, and people can pick it up on iPlayer or anyone else. So no, I don't want this sort of thing back. I don't want most of the programs back either. But we have got greater flexibility now. We can be more intelligent with programming.
Well, of course, the challenge now, remember, the future is that you've got hundreds of channels. We never thought we'd get there. But, you know, when you had 4 there, I mean, Rachael, this is a period that, you weren't dabbling with. But are there any little programs there where you're going, I never knew that. That interests me. Gosh, that takes me back to hearing my parents talk.
Probably Rumpole the Bailey is something that my parents would have talked about quite a fair bit.
They were very good.
Yeah, it sounds. I'll be honest with you. There still seems to be a bit more quality there than I hear now, and a lot more variety. Actually, you've got a chat show on BBC One midweek. You've got a chat show on ITV midweek. You've then got a documentary. You've then got. I mean, there's a good variety. Jeremy, does it bring back good or bad memories?
Some good memories, but just going back to Doctor Who up against Coronation Street years ago when I went to the Doctor Who exhibition in Longleat. One of the ladies, she was working behind the counter, the Who shop counter there, and she was talking with another lady, and she said, "Oh yes, and are you watching Doctor Who tonight?" She said, "No, I'm watching Coronation Street." So it just summed it all up.
Well, we thought it was a master plan by Michael Gray, didn't we? Really?
Yeah.
It seemed to be television suicide.
Yeah.
For some reason, my instant memories are watching Doctor Who on Coronation Street with fish and chips wrapped in newspaper. Now, this is Boomer Dog in Adelaide, but I know he has been in Britain, so I'm just wondering if he's referring to over there on the ABC or over here when he's been here. Dalekzilla.
Then, I presume.
Dalekzilla, Matt. Hate on RTD all you want because he's the one that's killed Doctor Who. Ncuti is an actor that reads the scripts and acts them out. How is it you hate him? Sorry, makes no sense. I don't know if you're picking up something in the thread. We are questioning is the thing we do, is we question decisions made by well-paid producers and showrunners.
Yeah. I think hate is a bit of a strong word. I don't think we hate Ncuti Gatwa. I don't particularly like Ncuti Gatwa or Jodie Whittaker, but I don't hate them as people.
No, it's not a hate thing. Questioning. I think it's called critical inquiry. I'm a teacher, remember. Critical inquiry, it's called.
You have to, if you can, try and set what they say on the, outside from their performance, if you can. I know it's difficult. Absolutely. Sometimes it does actually affect what you're thinking, but you have to try. So
a bit like Ncuti, it would have been more helpful when he did that famous interview when he told people who don't like him being the Doctor to go and touch the grass.
Yeah.
If he dislocated and just talked about he's happy to be Doctor Who and he hopes people enjoy it and just left the negative feedback till, well, it may not have happened. The point is he was actually getting in fast to say, if there is negative feedback, you can go and touch grass. And as you're saying, Rachael, we are trying to keep the personal separate from the professional inquiry. And I think sometimes the actors and the producer need to do that as well. Now, Brian, you've been waiting patiently as a Canadian. I mean, I know this is going to look like blather to you, but are there any programs there that you thought, oh, good old British programs there from the past? I've heard about
I actually
them.
recognize quite a few names. I'm sorry?
Are there any you would actually watch?
Oh, boy. I had bifocals. To be honest, I wasn't even a fan really of Doctor Who come Sylvester McCoy. After Colin Baker's second season, I had almost given up. And then when Sylvester came back, I had hopes, and then I gave up again. So, yes, I would suspect that I would have watched one of the other shows, because I was losing my interest, just as it's happening again. It's happening again, basically.
Yeah, and we're going to show the Christmas schedule in a moment, just to bring it up to speed. But if I just show you this one more than one here, just to kind of give you a classic Saturday night when Doctor Who was a bit more in its kind of,
I'm going to pull this right up, so I'm going to probably look a little ridiculous here.
No, don't worry. I've got it on a big screen, so there we go. It's at 6:05, Doctor Who, the Deadly Assassin. I mean, hello. Talk about the zenith of Doctor Who. 6:30, Bruce Forsyth and the Generation Game. And then you've got the Duchess of Duke Street with Gemma Jones and quite a good cast, actually. I used to love watching that as a kid. Then you had Shirley Bassey, and then you had Starsky and Hutch. Then you had Match of the Day. Then you had Parkinson, a chat show. I mean, that to me, I'll say to Simon first, that to me, we're hitting peak scheduling now. Does it bring back good memories there?
Well, the thing it brings back for me is the idiocy of putting Doctor Who against Horizon. I mean, people who want to watch one would want to watch the other, and it's the same network, same company. Why contradict your marketing strategy in your own realm? It's completely daft. These programmers were widely criticised for being out of touch at the time, and they certainly were. I mean, this is just stupid.
I think also that if you look at BBC Two then and BBC Two now, most programs on BBC Two now are repeats. Is that quite a lot? About 90% are repeats now.
Yes, it wasn't allowed really so much then. Rachael, again, we've got a period way before you, but do you sometimes wish you could have been a bit timey-wimey and maybe for a few days shared some of these?
Well, I suppose so. I mean, I vaguely remember Bruce Forsyth's Generation game. Vaguely. The Generation game? I don't know. When it was like, was it the
He did come back in the 90s.
card game?
He came back in the 90s. He did
That's Play Your Cards Right with Bruce Forsyth.
Cards, right. Okay, ignore that then. I'm just talking.
It was on ITV. That's on the other channel.
Okay. I was talking rubbish. Just ignore that.
The
But,
Generation
okay.
game was ritual humiliation.
Okay, I would have paid to have seen that. Yeah.
He did bring Generation back in the 90s. He did come back for a second iteration. He did. So that might be.
I'm remembering that then.
Yeah, it's possible. So anyways, that was just to kind of take people down memory lane. But let's get to the brass tacks here. It's this one that people are talking about. The one on the left is the Christmas Day schedule in Britain. And then I've got a lovely Christmas Day one from the past, and see which one you prefer. So, of course, this year we've got Strictly Come Dancing Christmas specials on at 3:50. I mean, it's so early. I'm shocked by that. 3:55. Then you've got Doctor Who on at 5:10. Wallace and Gromit, 6:10. EastEnders, Part 1, our soap opera. Call the Midwife, drama. Gavin and Stacey back for the last time, I think, in a big finale. And then you've got EastEnders Part 2, then Mrs. Brown's Boy. So you've got lots of comedy, lots of drama, a great family kind of movie with Wallace and Gromit, Doctor Who fitting in there somewhere, and Strictly Come Dancing really early. Yeah. Now, do you think, I'm going to ask the panel and the thread,
That's tactical.
What's going on here? I mean, Doctor Who on at 5:10, it's normally, I think, a bit of the graveyard shift. The parents are asleep. They're digesting their meal. The kids are awake. And then the parents normally and the grandparents wake up again to watch what would have been the old days, as you see, the Bruce Forsyth, Morecambe and Wise and all that stuff. I don't know. I wonder if it's a bit early. But then I see Strictly and I think, oh, my God, they've switched it.
Really early. I think they're hoping that by sandwiching it between two shows that are popular, be it Strictly and Wallace and Gromit, that people will stay around because they want to watch Wallace and Gromit as well.
That's right.
I think that's what they're doing. I think we were talking about it on Twitter, weren't we, Jeremy, actually? And you spoke about Wallace and Gromit, but I hadn't seen the schedule at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting that Russell Davies on his Radio 4 Today interview, which we will talk about in our news item in a lot of depth, don't you worry, everybody. He actually did also say that he really made a play of the Gavin and Stacey on at 9:00, and he said he hopes that they get something like 10 million, right? And then he said, and I hope Doctor Who gets some of the draft of that. So if he's setting the bar at 10 million for Gavin and Stacey, that's on 4 hours after Doctor Who, I'm trying to work out, is he trying to set a kind of bar for what Doctor Who's going to get already?
Not so much a bar as an under the carpet moment.
I mean, do you think that's a good schedule for this year? Does that appeal, Simon?
All right.
Well, yes, it does, because I can watch the constituent parts anytime I like. As a chronological order, I mean, there's the Queen or the King or whoever just before Strictly, I presume, if you're going to be traditional about things. And so I really think times have changed so much. Traditional Programming and traditional sitting around the table and sitting in front of the television does not happen anymore at all. So trying to pander to it is fairly pointless. It's just put good stuff on and hope that people will watch it.
There was a suspicion, Jeremy, this year that, and JWC Reviews is kind of touched on this. They're trying to monopolize views by putting on their best shows. It's a tactical move. This almost looks like BBC's trying to dominate, as they always used to on Christmas Day.
Oh yeah.
And that schedule looks not bad. I'll be honest with you. It's just.
Yeah.
It's my questioning about Doctor Who so early, because as I'll do the Stephen Moffat item when he talked about comedy in Doctor Who, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, if you go for comedy and light touch, it's going to be on earlier and earlier, because it's not a comedy with Gavin and Stacey, is it?
Yeah, I mean they'll look at the content of Doctor Who, this particular episode, and see whether it needs to be put on at 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or 7 o'clock. But I don't think they put it on any later than that.
No,
But they're not going to put it on after 9, which is why Gavin and Stacey's there.
The main problem is when they show it on the night before on iPlayer, because that takes away some of the ratings away from the actual the screening of it on BBC One.
I don't think they are this year. I've heard.
Oh right.
I've heard nothing about it. Have you, Rachel?
I've heard absolutely nothing.
Don't worry, I will come to Brian. But I think I heard that, unlike before with season 1, they're not going to do that this time. That's what I.
Oh right. Well then, hopefully then
that was the case. Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully then it should get more viewing. Well, it should get better ratings. There's no doubt about that. It should do.
The thing is, it's interesting that in 2005, the Christmas Invasion was on after 7. And so if you talk about how has Doctor Who improved or regressed in 20 years, we are now getting earlier with a tea time slot, which to me means more kiddie, less serious. I mean, Brian, I know you're over there. We will get we will be doing other items in a moment, Brian. But do you think are we reading the right things here, Brian? That we are creatures of habit in Britain. It's the Northern Hemisphere, much colder than some of your places, and we are. I don't know. We like to sit around the TV on Christmas Day. So when we see that Doctor Who's on at 5:10, I do think, oh gosh, is that a vote of confidence or no confidence? What do you kind of hunch from the outside there?
If it was me, I would just be thrilled that it was on an hour earlier than normal. If it was 6 or 7, I would just be happy to see it earlier. That's just me. But like you said, they seem to be stacking up a lot of shows that people want to see in the UK. And I can't remember where I heard, but somebody had said that if they do this, people will just leave their TV tuned to the BBC all day long. And then all the ratings come through and they'll say, look at the ratings that, like, for instance, Doctor Who got on Christmas Day. But the fact was, well, the TV was just left on. They don't really know if people are watching it even.
Well, people are dozing a bit. I mean, and Stephen Braddock here, good to see you, says, I know one thing. Doctor Who is in a very good place this year between Strictly and Wallace and Gromit, which is true. I used to teach scheduling for a little media studies package at school. And yeah, Doctor Who is sandwiched there between two big uns. So yes, that's a good point, Stephen. Actually, that might be, does that mean they think Doctor Who's weak? I don't think so, by the way, because the press in Britain, it's on the Radio Times front cover. It's on most of the TV Weekly front covers. So I don't think there's any perception that Doctor Who's a weak brand, but actually placing it between those two programs is a real help.
If it was a weak brand, it would have been torn apart on the Today program, because that's what the Today program does. And it was venerated.
Well, the Today program, they're all lovies, I'm afraid, and they're all they all sing from the same hymn sheet. So I think they would just praise the program anyway.
That's not the case.
Well, I mean, it's because it's Russell T Davies, and they know that he's a big Labour supporter, so they'll give him an easy ride.
You think so? I don't.
Oh, I do.
He seemed to get an easy.
Rich people apart.
It was a very, very comfortable interview.
It was, yes, exactly. Yeah. That's my point.
So,
yes.
So let's go from past to future. You know, I'm going to shake this around by we get to some of these tasty morsels. So, before we get to the season 2 Christmas special, we'll have season 2 countdown. And this is another new item which we will look at when we have any tasty morsels, and Doctor Who magazine's thrown a few at us. See if we are going to be dismissing them as little boring little tat from RTD from his, table, or whether you're thinking, oh, that gets me. Remember, I did my stream with Jeremy when Jeremy said he's not watching Doctor Who now. So is this going to prize him back? Brian, you haven't been happy either. So will this appeal to you? So here we go with our season 2 countdown clues.
99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93, 92, 91.
Yep, please like and subscribe, So, yes, the season 2 countdown. And actually, 161 days is true. I am working out that May the 17th, which is my birthday, is Eurovision Song Contest Day. And that is 161 days at the moment. So it's around about then when it might be coming back. So we've got the season 2 countdown. There's Mrs. Flood there waiting to be revealed. And Ncuti, I don't know if he's crying there. I'm not quite sure. He's pondering. Anyway, here's one morsel from it. And see if you want to bite on this, I'll just go boring. So RTD says, a weapon from the 9th Doctor's era in 2005 is about to make a terrifying return. I knew nothing about it until the writer handed it in their script. What a comeback. And it had me thinking, Jeremy, what weapon in the first season with Chris Eccleston was of any interest? I was actually worried. I was thinking
Banana.
I missed that bit.
Yeah,
I missed that bit. I didn't know anything about this. Oh, right.
I can't. But when he didn't have many episodes, did he? So I mean, it's quite easy to look. The Boomtown, the World War III one with the Slovene fart in the way. I thought that was a weapon, really. You had the End of the World, but I wasn't aware of a weapon in that ending. When you go through, I'm just starting to be a bit perplexed. I mean, maybe the one in the Blitz, we had the thing that dealt with the virus. They were chasing a bomb kind of thing to Earth, weren't they? A capsule.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Mark Anderson here, and you can help us. This is when I'm asking people. What about? It was in that episode though when they were chasing something. Are you my mummy? That episode, yes.
Don't mention John Barrowman. That opens up another can of worms. That does.
So, bless him. What about a plastic arm?
Are they talking about John Barrowman's weapon?
The plastic arm says Dread Newt. Has anyone got any thoughts on? I mean, I'm not going to spend 20 hours on these. Don't worry, but.
Well, when I said banana, I was, of course, referring to what Chris Eccleston swapped from John Barrowman. Because he had a gun that was blasting holes through stuff. Then all of a sudden he had a banana, which I thought was rather funny.
Well, so if we took that logic, then it's going to be terrifying return. So it's Banana Man. No, I don't know.
Well, it certainly has appeal.
Oh, dear me.
Thanks a bunch.
Oh, we went there.
I know.
I was going to say Dalek.
Oh.
Not written by RTD.
A weapon from the 9th Doctor's era in 2005 could be a Dalek. Oh.
No more. A weapon. Oh, gosh.
Well, David, Hardin, I said maybe the Emperor Dalek. For a second, I did think that. It's just when he says weapon and you're going, what are you talking about? Oh, sorry. And Michael Q does say Captain Jack's sonic gun. I mean, there is that. Yeah.
But not terrifying.
It all depends who's it pointing at.
The reason why I said Dalek is because we see the 9th Doctor raiding in the bunker in Utah in I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was raiding the box full of weapons, so to speak. Did Did he take anything from there? He did, didn't he? He took a big one, but what did he do with it?
Is this little snippet going to make everybody look at that first season of Chris Eccleston quickly, or are we all going, whatever, it's a lot of hype again? Anyway,
Yeah.
so Brendan will
No,
move on to this one. The header for scene 10 of next year's episode 8, which I assume is the climax,
Adam.
says interior, cutaway, metal door 2. Oh, but wait till you find out what's behind that metal door. Not to mention doors 1 and 3. Scream. So, do you know one thing I am hoping? I'm not going to say I'm going to guess a monster or anything, but what I am hoping is he said terrifying weapon and or return, and now he's saying scream. I wish Doctor Who was going dark, and I wish it was going for the behind the sofa stuff. I really do. But
Not at Christmas.
yeah, are these tidbits getting you so far?
Wait, I don't even understand what this is supposed to mean.
It reminds me of Ted Rogers in 3-2-1 when he gives out those riddles and these these clues. You just haven't got a clue what it is.
Well, and it's always riddles. I mean, one I'm not going to show you is he just gives you so many words from a script, and you think, oh, for God's sake, it's not even worth thinking about. But, you know, a metal door, 3 metal doors, and there's a screen behind it. But I'm just hoping. I mean, Brian, where do you stand on this? Are you looking forward to season 2? And then when you see bits like this, are you going, okay, yep.
No, I'm not looking forward to season 2 at all. And little, tidbits like the weapon returning and whatnot. I don't know what they think they're accomplishing with that. It's so vague. And for the people who don't care or are on the fence, it's not enough to make me say, ooh, I wonder what's coming. If it was something else.
Why I don't watch these bits.
Well, and that's why I'm moving on fast. I'm fast here. Mm-hmm. So this one, if you include the Christmas episode, then we have 6 writers at work on this next tranche of Doctor Who. And for one of those writers on season 2, this will be their very first TV script. Now, he's going to say this to sound kind and loving and caring and nurturing. And I'm sat there going, this is Doctor Who, a global brand. Anyway, I just double checked and they told me for 13 years I've been trying to make something but was turned down at each juncture. So yeah, it's a writer who's been trying to get into the industry. For another writer, this is their first full-length script after one short film. I'm very proud of that. Proud of the writers and proud of Bad Wolf, BBC, Disney Plus for opening the door. The fact is, to get your first credit on a great big high octane, you see, it's always going to be louder, brasher, microphone. World Live Stream show is a colossal achievement. And it's good for the whole industry, getting new voices on screen. I've been advocating this for years. I exec 2 writers before, blah, 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 blah. The point I wanted to quickly say is, I don't know if they... am I getting a sense of Andrew Smith full circle here? Where, you get some new blood. I got the impression that since I've never written a script up to this point, there's not a cat in hell's chance I'll get anywhere near Doctor Who now, which has gone stellar in budget and where it's in its esteem. To me, it sounds a bit surprising that they've actually upgraded somebody from... I don't know. Am I going too far there, Rachel? Do you think? I just think
he may very well have been going around asking, making the rounds, making himself known. It's something that I actually learned when I was speaking to Will Hadcroft.
Yes,
that's one of the ways to get in and get your foot in the door in this sort of thing is by going around and introducing yourself, even if you're doing it multiple times to people. So that may have been how it went about. It's a huge risk taking on new writers, particularly when they're not experienced in Doctor Who, but you never know. It could be a good thing as well.
Well, the thing is, I've become a bit more cynical because the Rogue episode was written by 2 people new to Doctor Who, and it wasn't Doctor Who. Brian, we need fresh blood. Of course you do. You have to. In fact, a lot of us are saying, can we not have RTD, not have Stephen Moffat, not have Chris Chibnall? Can we have somebody new, please? So we do need fresh blood by that very logic. But I just think also it's interesting to say this is a very expensive program. this is now a global streaming program, and surely you have to have so many credits behind your name to even get near this.
You're waiting for me. You know, I'm tired of all the old faces and all the old writers' names. Moffat did some great stuff back in the day. Even Davies, hard to believe, actually did some great stuff back in the day. But yeah, I think proper new blood, not soap opera writers, not people who write drama, but sci-fi writers should be vetted. And if they like what they do, let them onto the show. Get a whole new writers team, a whole new everything. It's not working.
The problem is, Contrarian, is we know that they do this. They do this with publishing as well. That they do select the writers, but they're selected for various other things. Never mind whether it's a damn good science fiction story.
That's horribly true. I can't be contrarian about that. That's been proved so many times in the past. The same thing goes for schedulers and the people who make the trailers, the people who publish clips online and everywhere. They are not associated with the production team. They have a different agenda themselves, and they often contradict. Which is why I ignore everything until the program. Because that way I got a clean view of the actual production itself. Yeah. Then I tear it apart, or otherwise.
Well, this is the final one on season 2 tidbits. Now, this photograph's been shown for quite a while, and he did say in a recent version, Jeremy, he talked about lots of robots and aliens in season 2. Well, that looks like a robot. It looks like the robot. Is it from the Husbands of River Song or the Wedding of River Song?
It looks a lot like it.
It does, doesn't it? To me, it looks like a Transformer type. You know, here we go again. I start to go. I feel. I seem to want a mix of Doctor Who meets Alien, the movie. But that just looks a little bit kind of Transformer. Brian, you went nodding your head then.
Yeah, I definitely think that is from the Wedding of River Song.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know the one, the Christmas special. I think if it is that, they might try to take what was how the Christmas episodes are all light fare, and they had that, let's pop on a new head, and Matt Lucas would come around and wiggle and then disappear again. It's possible that they might actually try to make that robot actually a little more of a scary thing to encounter, as opposed to being a comedic element in that show. Because I could not take that seriously at all. I mean, it was meant for laughs as far as I was concerned.
Well, as per usual. Jeremy, have I got you back in the season 2 watching camp?
No. I mean, I'd have to say I let everybody watch it so I don't have to watch it, and then they can have the pain and the time wasting of watching it. But I mean, I think what's more interesting is actually listening and watching people's reviewing it. That's more entertaining and interesting, in actual fact.
Well, we've got some interesting points here, like Raymond Williams. Chibnall tried inexperienced writers that weren't science fiction or fantasy writers. Very true. But DEI hires, it didn't work. Meanwhile, Jamie Matheson and Gareth Roberts never got asked.
Yeah.
And Rob Sheeman doesn't have. When I was at Dras in April, Rob Sheeman did Dalek. He's never been asked back.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, they've got to have a big pool of scripts or a pool of writers that can write, good science fiction stories, but more importantly, understand the character. And the only way you're going to understand the character is if these writers actually watch the show from day one and understand the character.
And because it's now 61 years old, and because it is bigger than it's ever been, I'm expecting that because I'm a brand new writer, I've got no chance That that's what I expect
Well,
that.
Yeah,
Now,
but-
people might have done a radio show. People, like it says, somebody had done a short film. Well done. I mean, I'm not knocking that, but to go from short film to a 45-minute wham bam spectacular, wow, that's a hell of an ambitious jump.
Well, they'll either work at.
He's proud of having done that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to diss anybody. I just want to say, my God, I didn't think Doctor Who would be the program to do an apprenticeship on how to do a 45-minute television script spectacular, because he likes
it yet. It might
True,
be fantastic.
but he likes it louder and more livid and all the rest. I'm thinking,
He said that, hasn't he? I mean, he says that because that's what he's been told to say, partly. But he's the guy who's brought us some of the best stuff we've ever had.
Does anybody understand?
Do anything he likes.
Does anybody understand? Michael Nemo, I always wanted a Clive Barker written episode. What's he written? Does anyone know Clive Barker?
Oh, yeah, the horror writer, wasn't he?
Was he?
Clive
Horror.
Barker. Was he the horror writer behind, or am I getting it mixed up? Hellraiser, that sort of.
I have to say, if it was something like horror, I'd go for it.
I'm pretty sure Clive Barker. Yeah, we're talking. Hellraiser films. There were some really, really strange ones too that he did. I'm pretty sure he passed away several years ago.
Okay. Well, therefore, Michael Nemo, yes.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Hellraiser, Candyman, Book of Blood. Yeah.
Is there dialogue in any of those? Is there plot? Is there intrigue and interest? Or is it just, oh, look, there's something frightening that we're going to show in dark and then all of a sudden flash it up? I have no patience for that sort of stuff.
You can only scare people for so long. You have to have done it properly and built up and done, we all know a bad horror that doesn't work. So these are famous ones. Yeah.
Midnight did it perfectly.
Well,
yes. Did. Yeah, it was perfect.
Now, Michael Nemo, you're right. The show isn't sci-fi anymore, and I'm going to show you the Stephen Moffat article where he actually, whether he's bigging up Joy to the Worlds, and he does actually talk about he had a difficult thing to bridge season 1 and season 2. The Doctor's lost his companion. He's upset, but to do a one-off story, he doesn't want to go for too sad. He doesn't want to go too serious. It's Christmas, and he was talking about that difficulty. And I'll show you the interview later on today. And I don't feel as I'm hearing sci-fi. Although Time Hotel as a concept works, of course it does. So let's kind of plod on. Yes, Rob Fellows is agreeing. To contrarian, you can't have seen Hellraiser then, my God. It's a good one.
I've not seen it. No, I've not seen it.
So,
but would I like it? Would it have a plot and intellectual interest?
It depends, I suppose. I'm not a horror person, so I don't think it would appeal to me. However, I do want the Doctor Who to go darker, certainly more darker in shade than it is now. So let's do a quick other topic. And actually, Rachael has almost segued into it a little bit earlier, just by accident. Yes, it was this. Joe Satcherich, if I say it correctly, I put Whovian views up. Does anyone else think that Ncuti should face the Daleks in the next series or the series after?
Yes.
How would you expect episodes with him and the Daleks to go? Now, he mentions the twerking, of course, in his interview. But you mentioned the Daleks just by a second, Rachael, by fluke. You were in jest. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to imagine what weapon or whatever it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
But he did say quite strictly, didn't he? He said, I do want to be a doctor who faces the Daleks. Now, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the Doctor Who fan who sees the Daleks turned into something else. And this era is worrying me no end. When you can have a snot monster and all the rest of it, and most of the last and Sutek turns into a little kind of Scooby-Doo. I just start to worry about what a Dalek might be made to do? I mean, will the Dalek have an emotional, nervous breakdown? I mean, Neely did it in Dalek, to be quite honest. I mean,
Yes.
Almost, yeah.
yeah. I
And
mean,
all the Hartnell with Daleks with the human factor saying why. That really stuck with my mother and me.
Evil of the Daleks.
Yes, that was terrific. That
oh
was.
yeah. I'm your servant. So, Brian, would you like to see the Daleks back just because it's the Daleks? Or are you worried about in this era what might happen?
Actually, no, I don't want to see them back. When they brought them back, I know that they wanted to get rid of them just shouting exterminate all the time. But I got rather tired of the conversations that various doctors or companions, whoever, would have with them, to the point where it's like when I envisioned, for instance, when McGann came back in '96, I was severely disappointed with it, just mainly because, the Master, they took on too many things at once, and I just had this a little bit of an opening, that cold open, where if you were on, say, a ship full of refugees, everybody's looking tattered, bloodied. They almost feel like we're safe. We got away from it. Things start shaking. You start hearing noises, and then all you hear is exterminate, and people are screaming and getting killed. And you never even see them up until it leads to the opening theme. And I think that perhaps they should, I'm not saying dumb them down, but I think they should start making them more machine-like. And basically, it's like, you don't want to run into these things, much like the Borg on Star Trek.
Yeah.
You just don't want to run into these things. I find their convoluted plots of trying to, the reality bomb, or I think it's gotten a little out of hand. I think sometimes simpler can be better. I think it should be just killing machines that you do not want to run into.
I agree. I mean, Jeremy, where do you stand? I know I was trying to get you to talk about Planet of the Daleks, and that's why you had your first backdrop. To me, the Daleks have been on TV so much that they have been played around with. And no matter their designs and all the jokes about them, I just think I agree with Brian. Actually, I think we should go back to basics with the Daleks, and the Daleks should be the most lethal alien in Doctor Who. We need to get them back to number one.
Yeah, that's right. But it all starts with the fact that you've got to have a really good story, a good script, to actually have them in, bring them back, so they have a purpose to come back, rather than just like a cameo appearance or a guest appearance. But as I said, I think every actor who plays Doctor Who really should be battling up against the Daleks.
Yeah.
In the same way with the Cybermen, because I mean, John Pertwee didn't have a battle with the Cybermen until the Five Doctors.
That was lucky in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was just lucky in the end, that he did. But I mean, hopefully it'll work out in season 3, if it comes to fruition.
I mean, it's interesting, Michael Nemo, that you're giving us a bit of the biographical detail about Clive Barker, who you named. He's not dead, he's prolific, and he's LGBT. And of course, nowadays, everything has to have a tick and a box tick going on, so I suppose that would help, maybe. But Simon, where do you stand on the Daleks front? Because I'm concerned about the Davros, you see. I don't want Davros back.
No.
I wouldn't. The Davros concept, I think, could be used as in, if the Daleks all of a sudden had intellectual capacity, something like the Cybermaster can have. Daleks discussing things. They're still evil killing monsters, but they have different opinions which they share and plot between them.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting change, an upgrade of the Dalek.
And that's
the attempts of introducing the human factor, but because they've done it twice before and it failed twice. Now, if they do it, but without the human emotion part, which let them down every time in the past.
Or how about a plot where they go back in time to try and adjust their history.
I
You
think
to trying to cross the timeline, something along that line, you know.
do. Well, we've got Dalek Lives Matter here. Gosh, we've got something for everything. I will come to you, Rachel. Don't worry. Dalek Lives Matter. Oh, it sounds like a cause. Leave the Daleks alone. They'll ruin the legacy. Rachel, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Well, I never really answered the question at all, I don't think. So I don't think they should bring the Daleks back because they are overused and they've become a bit 2D. However, now I'm going to contradict myself. I think if Ncuti wants to actually face him, then I actually think he should. My concern is what exactly would they actually do to the Daleks? Because they have, in many respects, been dumbed down a lot, especially since, I mean, Robert Sherman was brought in to write Dalek because obviously he wrote Jubilee. If you don't know, it's based off an actual audio play. And it's a brilliant audio play. And that one Dalek alone was, that episode was supposed to show everyone, this is a Dalek, this is the power of the Dalek, they are dangerous, they are terrifying. And if we could just bring it back to that, that'd be great.
Well, I'll quickly, sorry, Jeremy, for a second. I'll go to the thread. There's loads of people. The Daleks get us all fired up. Of course they do. Starting with Michael Nemo, Ncuti will cry over the paradigm rainbow Daleks. We've had the pink Daleks mentioned, the rainbow Daleks mentioned. People are so cynical now about all this, aren't they? Craig Dunlop, Ncuti and the Daleks would be terrible. They'd trundle around shouting, accessorize, well done, accessorize. Very well done, Craig. Heather, good to see you. You were late. I'm a teacher. The Daleks would kill him. He doesn't have what it takes to go against them. Let him face the Daleks and maybe we get a new doctor. Oh, that's
actually something that's never happened though, is it? Has it?
Yes, David Tennant was shot.
Yeah, but I mean full regeneration into the next doctor rather than throwing off regeneration energy. An actual full
to have the Daleks really take on the Doctor properly. I mean, I'm watching Planet of the Daleks at the moment, and of course in Frontier in Space, he got injured at the end and all the rest of it, and we had the David Tennant moment. But to have a real serious confrontation, and they get him. Not the Stonehenge nonsense when Matt Smith was surrounded by every blooming alien, none of that nonsense.
And that was dreadful, I thought.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, he was making a fool of himself completely, I thought.
Yes. Hubris. Mad McCann, Daleks will all die laughing at the lightweight fight put us around the Doctor. Or worse, they'll end up like the mashed potato aliens, just laughing at everybody peeling potatoes. Or worse, he convinces them of the error in their ways and they go off dancing together across the universe. Oh, do you not feel a love? We all have... The answer sounds like no. That's the Gaelics. Maybe that's their language, Sally. The Gaelic language.
Victor Lewis Smith did a skit on the Daleks some years ago.
Yes, he did. Yes. Stephen Braddock.
If Ncuti had an intellectual, nasty conversation with a Dalek, that would be very interesting. In the same sort of way as Eccleston was shouting at the locked up Dalek, but the Dalek couldn't really reply with any degree of intellectual clout. If one came back with something that was cutting, you would make a good Dalek was pretty damn good, but I mean, he could probably come up with something else as well.
Well, we've got
I don't think Ncuti is capable of that.
Well,
sorry.
As an actor, I think he is. He's not been written for yet.
I don't think he's been written for either. I actually agree with you.
It'd be nice. It would also nice if we could have some different Dalek voices instead of just Nick Briggs doing every voice.
Yes, although he thinks he did Dalek Sec. He did. You think, oh God, I know.
We need some variation.
Yeah, we need a Roy Skelton, a Michael Wisher. We need a bit of variety there. Yeah. If they made a two-parter taken from I. Davros and leading through his accident up to Genesis, it will be a nice take, says my Doctor Who twin, Peter. Early takes on the travel machine, but they would mess it up in this current climate. This is it. I've done stream Yeah, I keep saying don't bring anyone back. In fact, there is an argument that actually RTD should actually just go forward for a little while, bed this program in, and not tamper with the past. Sutek, no, leave them alone. But I also do agree with Rachel that you can't be Doctor Who and not have faced the Daleks.
Yeah. The trouble is that Russell T Davies does not have time to bed it in at the moment. There might not be a season 3 or 4 from the looks of it.
I
Well-
just think of a way of sorting out the Sutek issue. He could have
Yeah.
lied.
Yeah.
That it was completely not true. And he's just playing with the Doctor's mind. There you go. Sorted. Moving on.
Well,
You know,
you can see it's a very complicated one. It's we want the Daleks back, but neither do we want the Daleks back to be ruined. It's a very, very complicated one. So I'll give the last word to Rick Storm because we're going to move on to talking about the Christmas trailer. Daleks go back in time. There's a ripple in time and the Doctor disappears. In fact, all the Doctors disappear except Hartnell. They exterminate him. He escapes, but then changes into the fugitive Doctor.
Nice.
Ooh.
oh boy. Wait.
Oh,
Ooh.
ouch.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you're trying to trigger us. Okay, so what did I just say? I said we've got the Christmas trailer. Now we have decoded and analyzed and broken down and screenshotted and looked at the transcript of the Christmas trailer so we can make our decision about whether this looks promising or whether it looks average or whether it should be the time to sleep. So as is promised, it's on the front of the Doctor Who magazine, of course. It's on the front of the Radio Times. That's not bad. But of course, people have started even talking about the actual newspaper front cover might have clues. And so you can expect the Sense Sphere's done the job. There you go. And there's loads of clues there, loads of little Easter eggs. Duck Pond mystery solved. New lunar farms, revolutionizing travel at the bottom there. That looks like the company that's mentioned in there. Prisoner Zero found innocent from the 11th hour. And there's various little kind of hints of maybe mentions you might get. Okay, but I just thought I'd show you that in the timey-wimey. What sounds
If
like a
you
great...
zoom in, can you actually read the small text?
I can't zoom in on all that, but I know. But there's Easter egg. I think they're only Easter eggs, though, Rachel. I don't think I'm expecting to see Prisoner Zero and all.
No, I think they're definitely Easter eggs. I don't think they're anything more than that. Although, with Doctor Who fans, we read too much into it sometimes.
They know we're going to do this, don't they? They just know it. Brian, is there anything mentioned that you would like the thought of coming back?
Mentioned here?
Yeah.
No. Actually, well, nothing has grabbed me with this trailer, with all the hype. No, I really can't. I mean, a duck pond, that'd be nice. Have a little duck pond. Put the duck pond in the TARDIS. Feed some bread every once in a while. I just no. The Prisoner Zero thing. It's like when you're talking about don't leave the past alone. I don't even want to dip into the current past. I mean, having something like Prisoner Zero, I think this is just a way to wind everybody up, get them talking, and for people like me and I believe Jeremy, who do not intend on watching the Christmas special, although I think I feel duty bound now to watch it. It solely for the purposes of said show. I have no interest, and there has been nothing that has gotten me interested in it. The trailer, nothing. Not this, not the trailer. No.
Well, 6boy73, good to see you. RTD's trolling the viewers with those headlines. I haven't even started on the interview yet. Oh my God. Yes. So I will keep steamrolling along because we do want to kind of show you various bits of the trailer and give you our take.
I think the text is readable, by the way.
Yeah. Joy to the Worlds, that poster is supposed to be kind of resonate with the 2005 Christmas one that looks fairly similar. So, of course, we're trying to say we're all one series. We're going back to the good stuff. And then, of course, there was all the PR stuff, which is for the Radio Times, you had two of our showrunners, Stephen Moffat, the writer of this episode, and Russell Davies, dressing the Christmas tree.
But
And
no Chris Chibnall.
Yeah, no Chris Chibnall.
He's like banging on the door. Let me in. Let me in.
He had loads of little Easter eggs. Yeah, you've got the interesting target books there. You've got various little things there. It's an interesting shot. But this
in
was
space, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Here we go. There were some new publicity shots, and I'll just show you them because then we'll start looking at some of the screenshots from the actual episode. So here we go. The humanoid Silurian, Joy, and the Doctor. We've got a very camp comic caper, it looks like to me, with some Tudors. We've got... Oh, yes, we know it's merchandise, Ncuti. We know you've got a different coloured Sonic. Yep. And we know it's going to be boxed in B&M soon. Yep. But here's from the transcript, and I'll intersperse now. Please, panel, just butt in when you want, because obviously I don't want to kind of, just go through every blooming frame and analyse it. But in the transcript, it says we are on a top secret mission. Yeah, that sounds all right. I can buy into that. He has to leave the TARDIS. That's a good start. Actually, he's never been in the blooming thing. Do you know what? That looks like, is it Avenue 5 that, was it Hugh Grant was in? Not Hugh Grant. I always get the name wrong. The one who did House.
Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie, not Hugh Grant. Yes. That set looks like the spaceship in Avenue 5, which I used to enjoy, and it was a kind of sci-fi comedy. Again, I can't knock the set or anything like that. It looks fine to me with a big Christmas, and there is a Christmas star on. So hello, Christmas isn't dead yet. But yeah, you can go.
Are they making any link to the film Everything Everywhere All at Once deliberately? Is that? I mean, they're saying we've got all the Christmases rolled into one happening at the same time. But we had that same sort of thing with time being frozen at 2 minutes past 5 or whatever it was. I think there are links there, but I hope it doesn't follow much with the film, because I thought the film was rubbish.
Well, like I said, shooting anytime. I mean, Styboy says looks like the holodeck. PB Props, good to see you. Let's just admit the show now is high level cringe, failing on all sides, and has never actually been any good. I don't even hear anyone talking about it apart from in streams like this. The thing is, I don't think the talk's out there, but of course the media lovies aren't listening to that, but it is on a lot of publications as a front page. So the media think it's a great program, and I do sometimes think there is a bit of a disconnect, that the media think, well, Doctor Who is doing everything it should be, it's ticking all the boxes, it's amazing, but the people aren't saying so. So I agree with you on that one, PB Props. It's just, does this appeal as we go through them? The set looks fine, although I have to say I want Doctor Who to take history seriously. Remember how it all started in 1963? I assume those cavemen is just people doing fancy dress, and then they go on a time safari in the Time Hotel. So this is joke history, isn't it? This is Rogue again. It's cosplay. It's cosplay Doctor Who. And I'm thinking,
we don't know that yet. I mean,
well, they don't look like real cavemen.
That thing, but we don't know that yet. I think these are flashbacks to other episodes. The lady with the stick looks remarkably familiar from A Hartnell Story, which I can't. I think it might have been for Series 1, Episode 2. I mean, the clock monsters, and the name of the comedian. looks to me rather similar to the comedian who was employed by Missy when they were abducting souls and turning them into cyber peoples.
Yeah.
I think that's a flashback there as well.
It's just they don't look like cavemen from the past because, of course, they're not muddied and all the rest of it. I think they just look as though they're doing dress up. The reason I'm saying that, Simon, is because this clearly, you were saying, I'm wondering what the kind of homage is to this. I'm seeing Ray Bradbury's A Sound of Thunder, which was a time safari. And the Doctor Who's already hinted at it. You know that dinosaur moment when Ruby Sunday stood on a butterfly? That was basically, that was a Ray Bradbury's A Sound of Thunder. And I think we're doing it again in a concept called the Time Hotel. And I can imagine everybody goes there and they go, oh, do you know what? I want to go back to Neanderthal period. I must get the bear skins on. That's my perception. I just say, from that hunch, when does Doctor Who ever take any period seriously again? It becomes joke Regency, Rogue. It's just everything's joke Doctor Who. When is it kind of, whoa, God, dark hotel, dark corridors, that sort of thing? Because none of that was in the trailer. Rachel, so far, so good, so bad?
Well, the thing is, I actually haven't had much of an opinion on that trailer because it hasn't given me a lot other than the fact that I think it looks so airbrushed. There's no texture on Ncuti's skin. And I don't know why that's bothering me, but it is. So yeah, I've got no opinion on the actual trailer as of yet, which is why I haven't done a video on it either. So
yeah,
is this special based on Westworld or something, on a plot like that?
Oh gosh, there's a thought. Another bad one.
Well, as Stephen Braddock says, Brian, entertaining, lightweight fun, but I want drama, gravitas, and I want a scary Christmas special. I don't think, Brian, they'll ever, with this lot of showrunners, we'll ever get a scary Christmas special.
Certainly not at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
No, certainly not. But this is what I mean. Doctor Who, I think they're trying to make Doctor Who a safe space. And I'm really going to be truthful on that. That's a concept nowadays. People have to have a safe space. I don't think Doctor Who can go dark. I don't think Doctor Who can do behind the sofa anymore, because if it did that, it's an unsafe space for kids.
Now, going to that Radio 4 interview, he said he can see a position for a 9 o'clock spin-off on...
He did.
BBC 3. Yes. Yeah. I mean, oh dear. Or oh good, I'm not sure.
Well,
more oh dear, I think.
But that was...
It could be. I mean, there were aspects of Torchwood was superb, and then other aspects which were absolutely dreadful when they tied up with America.
But here's the point. I mean, Doctor Who in the 1970s, there were some scary moments, and that was going out at tea time. Terror of the Autons.
Oh, yes.
But they wouldn't
do it yesterday. Oh, my word. That scared you to death. There is a crack in the pavement in Terror of the Autons running along that road that I went over every day on my way to school. And there to see them running past it. Oh, it got me, I'll tell you.
But they wouldn't... Oh. But what I'm saying is, and I feel it in the thread, that it wouldn't happen now because... I just think people are more wary of scaring the kids in so many different ways. And I do think,
Kids like to be scared. Kids like to be scared.
I agree they do, but you tell our media lovies that.
Just as we did when we were kids,
Well, it's what they talk about on Monday. I can tell you as a teacher, you can tell them. It's normally the stuff they're not allowed to see, and it's normally stuff that they sneakily looked at, and they say, have you seen this? And it's normally something that thrilled them or excited them or grossed them out. And Doctor Who at 5 o'clock is not going to do anything like that. It's going to be just a bit of beige, a bit of,
it was my little thing. But,
hold on. So Brian first. Go on, Brian.
Oh, it's just, I think they should go back to scares. A show like when Stranger Things came out, if you think about it, we've got just the regular world, odd things are going on. People are disappearing. And then you got the upside down, and there's ash floating in the air. A very dark atmosphere. We haven't seen any monsters. We haven't seen anything remotely like dangerous on the screen, and yet it is very atmospheric, very moody, and it is something terrifying is coming. I don't understand why they can't go back to the way it was made in the 70s, where yes, it is intended to be scary and it is intended to be all in good fun.
As just said, there's the danger of the Mary Whitehouse experience.
Well, yeah, but now you can watch. I mean, kids can watch anything they want. I mean, here in Canada, when I see I can watch classic Doctor Who on something called Tubi anytime I want to. I can watch any kind of movie I want, as a matter of fact, no matter what the subject matter is, no matter if there's violence, coarse language, nudity, extremely, really, really, really awful violence. You can see anything. You don't have to have a proof of age, anything like that whatsoever. If a kid wants to see something like that, something that's going to scare them, they'll find a way to do it. I mean, that's just the age we live in with the internet. So I think that if that's the case, I think Doctor Who should probably at least, try to get on that bandwagon of like, you know what, not the bandwagon, but just say, you know what, this is acceptable. It's all around us. We're not going to make it super gory horror, but they could at least try to,
It's just that
up it a bit. Stop making it so light.
The phrase timey-wimey, Voyage of the Damned, one of the top Christmas Doctor Who episodes, it was almost a joke on the Titanic. I just start to wonder whether any of these are really capable, apart from quoting Midnight and apart from quoting Weeping Angels, can really go dark. This appeals to me. You see, this shot I love. And of course, I looked at it carefully and you can see Tower Bridge in the foreground. So it's London in the future, and my gosh, that's so Sadiq Khan's London really does start letting rip. So there you go. There'll be loads of ULEZ there, but there you go. The Tower Bridge is intact, but yes, that's London of the future. There you go. That appeals.
If we darken it down, and I agree entirely. The thing that would make it different from all the other programs with the gory, awful nastiness is the Doctor being a good, moral, nice bloke and fixing things. That's the difference. That's the bit that Doctor Who was written for initially, and why it was popular and why it should still be popular today, showing that good will triumph somehow eventually. That's what I want to see from a Doctor Who program.
Well, there's people in the thread saying, and I'm just going to bring this up because it's kind of where I'm starting to go when I'm looking at this, and I can see Rachael, as she said, it's not doing much yet as a trailer to get appeal. Problem being, nice to see you too. Also, I tend to agree with you. The show now is Doctor Who in name only with the original trappings. He's got a sonic screwdriver. Okay. It gets changed. I'm never going to get the original, but you get that, and it opens doors faster. Right, got that. He is apparently the Doctor, but he's behaving in a way I don't normally see Doctors behave. There's that. He's never in the blooming TARDIS. You'll see a shot in a minute, but they still don't know what to do with the TARDIS. When we do time travel, it tends to be timey-wimey cosplay nowadays. And so I do start to go down this path. It doesn't have the rhythm and the colour and the feel of what is Doctor Who. It says Doctor Who as a title. He is called the Doctor, but it just doesn't quite get me like Doctor Who always did. I mean, Crimpley mentioned the Snowman was on at 5:15 on Christmas Day. Now, none of the Christmas specials, none of them really grabbed me, but the Snowman was trying. I could see what they were trying to do, and I could see the cadences of it being Doctor Who. This just looks like it's got money, but I don't know. What do you think RTD is ultimately trying to do with the show? Is he trying to make it event TV? Is he trying to make it... What is he trying to make it? Because as I said in my thumbnail, is he tarnishing Doctor Who by changing it so much?
I think Chris Chibnall changed it so much. I think Christian will beat him to it.
RTD
But what?
because he's having fun, isn't it?
Yes, this is RTD2 doing it his way and the way he wants to.
David Mullen, very good point. Thank you for providing it. The Doctor wasn't a conventional hero. Yeah, he was seen as an anti-hero, wasn't he? Gatwa's Doctor, though, is a superstar, a diva. He's cool, and he knows he's cool, and he knows he's gorgeous. Remember, he's had dialogue like that. He's actually said, the doctor was gawky when it was Tom Baker. They didn't think they were good looking, and I don't think that was a concept in their brain. But now, I mean, and he's Dr. Bling, because somebody was referencing when you saw him holding that timey-wimey. He's Dr. Bling. I mean, it's turned into some Starsky and Hutch episode.
He's got decorated fingernails, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
But we've got humour. Obviously, Joy feels threatened, so she gets her hairdryer out. I was laughing hysterically. No, I mean, you have your little touches like this. But we had an emotional moment because the Doctor just knows, in these dark times that RTD has identified, we have the 15th Doctor who's just on the money. And here we go. What? Who are you then? Joy. Oh, that's a top name. And then she goes, that's that photograph. She goes, thank you. I mean, oh my God, I wish it was that easy.
We don't know that was that photograph with her teary eyes actually went with that particular bit of thing. I think that was some
I did say thank you.
Editor making something silly. I don't think that was a production plan because it's rubbish.
Rachael, I thought I saw her say thank you. I thought I saw her word it, and therefore it seemed to link with him saying, oh, amazing name.
Well, they do all sorts of things with trailers, don't they? They chop and they change and they move bits around to make it look like it's connected to this and that. It could be connected to something different. Maybe they're trying to MacGuffin us again and make her the incredible woman that is just an ordinary person, that kind of thing,
Brian, did you know humans can be amazing?
Did I know what?
That humans can be amazing.
Oh yes, that's novel.
On occasion. On occasion.
These were good with the Doctor Who magazine. I mean, when you mention things, the Time Hotel, there it is. That you got two cards with it. And clearly, this is kind of hinting at the plot as well. Discover the ancient pyramids of Giza. So obviously, it's the time safari from Sound of Thunder. And on the other one, you can go and do Everest. And so that's where I can understand the first trailer now, where basically, and I can also understand now the Doctor is apparently behind the scenes, and he goes into the Ron room with the Ron breakfast or whatever. So basically, I get the impression he's behind the scenes, although I've never seen anyone dressed like that in a hotel. But there you go.
Does Gatwa go to Everest and meet Brian Blessed up there? That would be quite interesting.
Well, they marry because Perry's been dumped, and then
because he likes climbing mountains,
and they keep it in the family. So here we go. Bit more on the plot. The Doctor knows there's an emergency. Joyce, in effect, is chained to a bomb because when you look at a lot of the photographs, the suitcase seems to be playing into a few different things. Yeah. So if I mention that, and I very quickly show you, if I just can do it. So, yeah, the Silurian at another point is holding the suitcase. She's holding the suitcase in a very funny way, almost like a handshake from you-know-who with Macron. And it's done at an what about this then?
I mentioned the French. Yeah.
What about this then? So there's this intriguing scene at the end. And if I go bigger for a moment, he's hugging a suitcase. And then...
Is that a suitcase?
And then he basically kind of, dissolves, incinerates. So... the suitcase might be something in the plot. A time hotel, the suitcase being a bomb. He says they're on a secret mission.
I don't think that's a suitcase. I think it's too small. It's a bit more like a laptop.
I just thought that was him, just part of the effect of him disappearing. I didn't think he was holding on to something, but maybe I just didn't see it properly.
thought it was a Christmas decoration or something.
It's small for a suitcase, I'm afraid.
I thought
Oh,
he
well.
opened up the suitcase from Pulp Fiction. Big mistake.
Well, problem being was typing before I showed the picture, and so you can see what he's written there, which is that seems to be par for the course with RTD at the moment. So I assume he's one of the baddies. You could argue, Crimpline. RTD tastes would have made him better suited to bringing back a rebooted Rent-A-Ghost in 2005 rather than Doctor Who. It could have been seen as Yes, I know what you mean. I liked Rent-A-Ghost Series 1, and then it did go a bit camp as well. So, yes, it suits RTD. He made Why Don't You, that program that none of us really wanted to watch in the summer holidays. He made that a soap opera, didn't he? He seems to enjoy changing the genre of whatever he does. That's what I see with RTD, I'll be honest with you. So the trailer has this idea of a bomb and a suitcase, possibly. Okay, so if I join our track again of where we were up to, let's have a get here. We were in the well, it looks like the Orient Express or something like that. But this is it. You said it was very flat looking, Rachel, but we've mentioned this with Boom and a few other things about the green screen effect. Now you can see him running along the train, so a bit of action. Okay, that's all right. But that shot doesn't look too hot, I have to say. I did look at it at the trailer and I thought it's not too impressive.
It doesn't look like they finished rendering it. I will say one thing just before I add to this. I actually think they have spent money on this episode. It looks like they have. So that's good. Now, this whole bit with the train sequence, that makes me think of something from, I think it's Dark Phoenix, one of the X-Men films, where, it just reminds me of that, where he's like stood on the top and he's doing something, and I feel like it's Dark Phoenix. Maybe.
Okay. I mean, I get I get a bit of an Indiana Jones vibe as well going. Okay.
Yeah, get that too.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then the next shot is, of course, he grabs that and then it bolts across the room.
There's a bit of Buster Keaton in there as well, I think.
Yeah. What is the biggest mystery in the non-universe? Because I said it answers the biggest question ever. And it seems to be, I think it's going to be something like, what's the essence of Christmas? But this is one of the discussion points for me from the actual trailer. And it was the doppelganger. Ncuti twice. And to go with Ncuti twice, I mean, gosh, you're getting your money's worth here, everybody. You get the, I mean, he says, you see, you have to be mysterious all the time. That's why everybody leaves you. That is why you are always alone. And I just thought, what does that mean? Susan, if you go back to the first companion, was forcibly made to leave. And I could go on with various companions. Sarah had to leave because he was going back to Gallifrey. There's two. This is a load of nonsense. What does he mean? The Doctor, you have to be mysterious all the time. That's why everybody leaves you. That is why you were always alone. I'm sorry, you're rewriting history, Stephen Moffat.
Or this character is lying, just pushing the Ncuti buttons. You know, it doesn't need to be true. It just needs to hurt him.
Oh, I know, but can Ncuti just have a normal script, therefore?
No, he can't, because his soul has been torn in half, remember? He is dynamically fragile because he hasn't got half a tenant in him.
Well, that means he's a quarter now, so that's 2 quarters, and there's a half.
He's bioregenerated.
Yeah, it could be somebody else just using his picture.
And then you've got the
shapeshifter.
Yeah, and then you've got the flip here. Doctor to doctor. How do I get to be you? You'll find out. Who are you? You'll find out. What do I do? Where do I go? You will find out. Oh, it's such frivolity. Brian, obviously you've got your settee parked and ready for watching this, because I think the dialogue's grabbing you, isn't it?
The dialogue, yes, not the show. This is typical Moffat right here. His you know, when the Doctor came back to Rory and he had the fez on and the mop.
Yeah.
And you're wondering what's going on. And that was a lot of fun the first time around. And now it just seems that, well, we all know it, not just seems. It's just been done and done and done and done. And I'm afraid that what we just saw right there is just typical. And I hate to say that for Stephen Moffat because he's done wonderful work, but that's what we all know how. That's typical Stephen Moffat's timey-wimey. And it doesn't interest me anymore.
Well, one of the interesting things, Stephen Moffat tends to, if you think of the Vashta Narada, he had the person dies, but they resonate for a few seconds. Remember that haunting thing? Mm-hmm. And he tends to do that. He did the same in Boom, that the hologram, you know, they were alive for a few more seconds. And here, the person who seems to be leading him like Aladdin's lamp could be the staff member from the hotel. Maybe they're dead because he's asking, where do I go? What do I do? So I'm just showing that because we're trying to guess actors. And he's dressed like Arthur Dent here in the TARDIS. Yeah. But what I wanted to show everybody, so I'm not so I wonder if he's staying at the hotel, but the TARDIS is parked then. So as a nice bit of humor, the Doctor goes and has his breakfast in the TARDIS and then he's got a dressing gown on. However, look at that in the background. We've finally got a new piece of furniture. I think the hat stand, coat stand's back. That's it.
Really good. That's what I asked for last week.
Yes.
So that vast warehouse has now got a coat rack. I mean,
it makes all the difference. Doesn't it?
It needs a bit of colour, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Brown. Yeah.
I never looked
at the TARDIS. That's shocking.
Yeah.
I find it ironic that they built such a huge TARDIS, and like you said, we got a little coat rack there, and that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the '96 movie, it was a huge set, and there were
lots of
all
things
over the
in
place. Library, bookshelves, sconces on the walls, you name it. They could put something in there without chewing up too much of the camera frame. They did it, and it looked beautiful. That was probably the saddest thing.
Make it interesting.
They trashed the set afterwards.
Mm.
It doesn't help any of the emotion. I mean, even seeing Goodbye to Ruby, which was shown again, that they had to close in. I mean, the set is just too big to deal with any of this stuff. It's
in other words,
yes. I mean,
big and bland.
There you go. And they do show you him crying again. So, of course, as I say in one of the news items, it's going to happen. You're going to see him continue in season 2 to do that. But you get him running around. It's very Goblin King, Church and Ruby Road. You know, he ran along the rooftops, didn't he? And he was very good with that ladder and the Mavity gloves. It looks as though there's apparently some emotion in it. But what I do want to show you very quickly is...
Oh, look, there was Sutek.
I mean, there's that dinosaur, which I'm not too sure how that's going to play out or whether it's another joke. Because everything does at the moment look as though it's joke. Apart from that bit, that looks a little bit sinister.
He's opening a packet of crisps.
So there you go.
Anybody commented on that blue door?
So you've got Joy to the Worlds. Now, this is what Stephen Moffat was talking about, and I just want to kind of just mention for a moment here. So he mentioned season 14, plenty of humour for the most part. Gatwa's first adventure in the role had a serious tone. We've got to be careful with the emotional intensity. We had apparently an Empire of Death. Doctor Who has always leaned into comedy to some degree. Question mark by me, as it's essential not to fall into that genre completely, as that's not what the series is built upon. Audiences expect a science fiction adventure, says this article. And then we come to what Stephen Moffat says. They refer to the Daleks and the Cybermen. They say they can only be taken seriously as threats if the show is taken seriously. And that's why too much comedy can be a negative situation. But if Joy to the World is too comedic, it might fail to grip audiences for the next season. And that was the concern. But in SFX magazine, Stephen Moffat says that this episode, it's got your usual Christmas whimsy. It leans slightly towards more humorous end of the market, but actually it gets quite emotional. There's a fun element. So it's whimsical, heartwarming, and emotional, which, yeah, great.
Doesn't sound very midnighty, does it?
It sounds like a bit of everything. And when something's a bit of everything, it's a lot of nothing.
It sounds like a bit of everything, minus that one thing that we all want.
Yeah.
Whimsy, humor, fun, emotional. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Can I quote my friend who's seen it? And he said that if you go into it expecting not to like it, you won't. But if you go into it hoping you will, you can.
So
that's
the point. Has there been a pre-screening of this?
No, he worked on the show doing the audio description.
Don't they normally have a pre-screening of this?
I'm not aware of one.
I'm not aware of any pre-screening. They might have done because Disney do a lot of pre-screening, but I don't know.
I thought I heard a few comments actually about a pre-screening. Somebody saying, "Oh, it looked really good. Oh, we loved it." I can't recall where I saw it, but
so
I thought I thought it read it cool.
I'll be going into this with like no expectations. Like I'm not going to go in thinking, "Oh, this is going to be really bad." I'm just going to watch it and judge it from just watching it.
Absolutely.
Right, can I just, just as I get to getting very close to the news now, so super chat here from Michael Nemo. RTD is doing to Doctor Who what Disney is doing to Star Wars, attractive to the dim masses because it is a wider net as opposed to good for just diehard fans. The thing is, I didn't think Star Wars was a rousing success, actually. I didn't think the last... Yeah, well, that's what I mean. But if we're talking generally, I'm not quite sure if... You see, Doctor Who in 2005 appealed to my mum and dad, the general viewer, who've actually just thought that the gritty Chris Eccleston seemed to have more about them than a kind of... I don't know. I think some people are turned off by the kind of middle-class, old-fashioned style Doctor, possibly. I'm talking about the casual viewers. And as soon as you get a bit of gritty Doctor Who and it's played for seriousness... It worked. And that got the masses, Michael Nemo. I'm not quite sure.
Our late queen, she was a fan of Christopher Eccleston. She got the DVDs. She asked the BBC for them.
Yes.
Which I think is brilliant.
That's excellent.
Couldn't she go out and buy them like we do? But we did.
Oh,
probably not.
So we've got...
so go in and like just take a photograph of herself, say, yeah, look at me, I'm the queen. You know, that's all she has to do.
Well, as Stephen Braddock says, I'm just going to watch it, hopefully enjoy it and judge it afterwards. And as I say, I'm the Doctor Who fan. My mum hates Doctor Who, and the church on Ruby Road, she said she liked it. So I thought, oh, well, this is not working, is it? David Mullen says, in his life as a wanderer, how many people pass through his life? If that really bothered him to such a degree, he would stop wandering, settle down and surround himself with people. But he doesn't. Quite right.
He half has.
Yes.
Half has.
The original Doctor Who has, yes.
So
this bioregeneration has gone somewhere else.
So this is the news that's going to come up in a moment. We're going to really look at the RTD interview, everybody. And I want to remind you that we do other programs. And so if you just look for a moment at our detox on Friday, here we go. And we'll see you with the RTD interview in a momento. Seen the latest Doctor Who Christmas trailer? Are you looking forward to it yet?
So where's your local Dunton, Brendan? Where's the local Dunton in your area then?
I haven't told Jamie. I don't know. It's a shed.
What the Pearl Clutches are missing is the fact that it's so wrong is what makes it funny.
Sylvester's got so much energy that he says, "Oh, we're going to do a Q&A." Like that's his most favourite thing.
can we stop, please, any version of baiting fans? You know they've appointed an intimacy coordinator for season 2. And I can't imagine why you need an intimacy coordinator on Doctor Who, but it has forced me every time I do a classic review now, and I'm banking them everyone for Christmas. You'll see them. I have this item now. Just this will just hopefully make you laugh. There you go. Does that detox you? Or does that toxic? I'm not running.
That did make me laugh. That's good.
Lovely theme tune.
There you go. Yes, our detox on Fridays at 11, everybody. That's in the UK. So let's get to the news, as I've been promising. So there is the news headlines, but it's no good me giving you headlines. You want to hear the news, and you want to hear what we say about RTD's interview. So, of course, I'm going to deliver that in spades, I hope, for you. So let me just show you now. So we'll start with Disney and the complications with Disney streaming RTD season 3. It's that kind of edge to it. So let's start. So, and breathe. Some sources imply Disney is pulling the plug. Others say they're very happy with the show. Basically, nobody knows anything, right? Okay. I'm going to get to RTD, don't worry. All I know is Space Babies opening the season was a mistake. Any decision made, that would have been a factor. Okay, that's somebody's opinion. I keep throwing this. John Davey from one of the Facebook groups. This site doesn't reveal its sources, but I do know Disney continue to be totally underwhelmed, and I've done articles about this, underwhelmed by the performance of Doctor Who on Disney+. Don't forget the American streaming giants aren't just interested in viewing figures, but how many new subs they get. Just add a bit more before I get that discussion going. And on Doctor Who filming locations, I said, it doesn't add up. Something's not gone to plan here. Disney clearly weren't fully impressed by season 1 and its performance, unfortunately. So they're either waiting to make a final decision or have pretty much already made it. Either way, the production of season 3 will be shifted. Because obviously we've seen that some of the quotes have changed over time. And of course, here we've got, as you see at the bottom there, this comes from a number of private conversations that are all in agreement and a number of dodgy and conflicting season 3 answers from RTD. He has changed his opinion slightly as he's gone through. For example, this is what he used to say. It's an industry decision. It's like any business. These things take time. I think the decision will come after the transmission of season 2. That's what we're expecting. That's what we've always been heading towards. Then, good old John, the Disney experiment was a success, a brilliant total success. Bang, a lovely moment there. Yeah. But RTD, and I'm just going to show you this, and then I really want to get a taste of what everybody's thinking. So Cultbox obviously referred to the Radio 4 Today interview and just said, obviously, he doesn't know if there'll be a third series, which we know. And of course, that there's a deal to do 2 seasons of 8 episodes, some Christmas specials, and the 5-part spin-off. Now, here we go. This is when it's going to get tasty. RTD said, oh, I don't know. I'm loving it, because he was asked whether there'd be a season 3. But we don't know if there's a third series yet. This series 2 will go out in the summer, and then they'll decide. The BBC will decide as well its future. But I'm happy to stay with it. I love it. It's more fun than anything else.
When he's in it.
Well, yeah, I mean, his pension's doing very well. I mean, in many ways, on the face of it, it sounds as though, Rachel, we're not learning anything new from that bit, which is nobody knows anything, nobody's announcing anything. But as this goes on longer and longer and longer, I feel as though they've kicked this into the long grass, deliberately PR-wise, because unlike a success, you normally get a fast announcement.
Yes. House of Dragon is a good example of that. Was it House of Dragon that got another series announced whilst the other separate series was still airing?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I did get that right. I didn't just say it for a random fact. That wasn't true. Well, it's either one or two things, in my opinion, that's going on here. Either he's trying to milk it to get people to talk about it and things like that, or they really truly haven't made that decision yet and they're waiting. Or they're going to pull a plug, actually.
I wondered, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, and problem being, Lee, as you know, there are other quotes I'm going to show, not just even on this page. So yeah, the Fools one was mentioned as well, which never doubt a 61-year-old program, darling. It can be a magazine, it can be a comic, it can be this. And I thought, I mean, me and Jeremy were talking about this before the stream started. Sorry, Doctor Who is a TV program. Forget saying it could end up being on some tape deck. It could be some radio play. No, no, no. It is a TV program. Don't wreck it. Stick with that. Everything else is froth. And so that's where he referred, as Lee is saying, to only a fool would doubt Doctor Who continuing. I don't want it being axed and ending up on some blooming radio play done once a year. No.
I would also say, this is just another thing that I just thought of, had Disney Plus actually got the amount of subscriptions that they really desired from Doctor Who alone, just that alone, then I think they would have already announced that they would have been continuing their partnership.
Yeah.
This is about money.
Yes, and I don't know what vibes you're getting over the pond, Brian, but I always think it's just common sense. I go on common sense, really. I don't pretend I know any insiders. It's a nicer position to be in. I just feel as though if it's a success, like I was saying to Rachel, they'd just announce it early to keep it as their streaming platform and not somebody else. The other thing is San Diego, Doctor Who, BBC was linking with Star Trek. Is that a kind of feeler? And the other thing is, people in the media, like every industry, they don't want like a vacuum. They like announcements. They like clarity. Industry likes clarity. So there's no clarity. There's a reason for that. Now, Brian, what are your vibes?
Well, over here, for starters, there's no clarity. Being a Disney Plus watcher for Doctor Who, briefly, as far as promoting that show, when you log on to Disney, it's almost non-existent. I mean, as far as like maybe this Christmas, there'll be a little Doctor Who banner across the top encouraging you to watch the show maybe, or you'll see it here and there, but really they're not plugging it at all. Gosh. So, I mean, that's at least in Canada. I know in the States, they had a little bit of a blitz with the subway cars being painted.
Yeah.
But
have you got the new trailer, Brian? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Have you got the new trailer?
I watched it yesterday and this morning.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll find a way, one way that, like, I mean, I saw the colorized Dalek episode story last Christmas. Technically, I wasn't supposed to, but
the thing is, Brian, the CBC has actually subsidized Doctor Who before. I mean, CBC has been
CBC, very good. Yes, for seasons 1 through 4 with David Tennant.
Yeah,
right up until Journey's End. They were. It was a co-production with CBC. CBC was bombarding the TVs every day after school. I would, of course, I was coming home from work at the time, but for kids, adults, everybody, you would turn on CBC, and from about 5 o'clock in the afternoon until 8, 9 at night, it was constantly, Doctor Who was coming back, Doctor Who was coming. And strangely enough, the theme tune that they were playing in the background with every promo was Peter Howell's version from 1980. It wasn't classic Tom Baker-ish stuff. It wasn't the one that everybody hears and instantly thinks, oh, Doctor Who. It was the Peter Howell version, which I thought very jarring, but at the same time, I was just so happy to know it was coming back. I just thought, okay, that's some strange continuity error, maybe something that they didn't realize that doesn't suit it, but at least it coming back. But no, it's just a. I'm sorry, I got a little bit lost there. We were discussing
It's the vacuum, and whether you've had a vibe over there and any gossip over there, because people are all talking, and of course, what you're saying is you're not seeing much of it on screen or being talked about.
No, as far as Disney goes, no. And as far as the only time I ever hear about it is online, either through a webcast like this or on forums. And unfortunately, I've given up on the forum part because people are just yelling back and forth at each other and being rude or racist or whatever. It's like, I don't want to be in that.
Nor do I. That's why I don't watch them. Yeah.
So Simon, Mr. Contrarian, you've been in the industry. You've worked for the BBC. I'm right, aren't I, that a vacuum nobody likes, and they normally try and pin things down as fast as they are happy to?
Well, there's pragmatism that has to come at the same time as following your production values and infighting and things. I think the timing of the Radio 4 interview being on flagship Radio 4 Today program at the most watched, most listened to part of the Today program, as in the very end, as sort of a skateboarding duck story, as in something that wasn't death and destruction everywhere, basically saying this is a feel-good story, and we really, really want you to watch it, and this is going to be great and fantastic. And I felt it was hype rather than information, and I think that was because they are a little worried.
Yes, and Jeremy, you heard it too. I thought this was a fluff piece about a fluff program about a fluff plot.
Yeah, that's basically the conclusion I came to as well.
Sorry, it was all happy and chirpy and glorious and all the rest of it. Mark, you though, if those presenters had any personal dislike of the show, they would have ripped it apart, and they did not.
Well,
they had that. Because it's a BBC show, they're not going to rip it apart. I'll tell you that.
No,
whether it's well produced or not.
I disagree. They've ripped apart the controller of Radio 4 live on air. Oh no, these are journalists who will say what they feel. Because
I felt it was a very, very, very soft interview.
Let me show you.
That is my point.
Well, let me show you some of the detail now, right? So this is where it gets tasty, everybody. The BBC made a move to go to a streamer, says RTD. It's still on BBC One here. It's still on the iPlayer. It's just the rest of the world gets Disney Plus. Yeah, thank you for that. And the BBC thought, and they went to me, because they thought that the show deserved to look as good as Stranger Things as the Star Wars shows. Why should we be the humble little show being made in a shoe cupboard? Why can't he talk with clarity and without exaggeration? I mean, he goes from one binary to another, doesn't he? And I think that's the way everything is heading. Let's face it, every single drama you ever watch on TV has had American money or co-production money in it for 25 years. So this is actually nothing new. This is just the next step. And it's a lovely experiment. We've had a great time. Now, lots of people are doing a lot of play on the past tense there with Disney and think we've made shows that really show that off. And we show Britain at its best as well. British crews, entirely British crews, writers, directors. It shows us off worldwide. Well, yeah, I'm happy about that sort of thing because it always was in the past. But
he called it an experiment, which is interesting, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. I would have thought when you go global and there's a lot of money involved, you don't experiment. Horns of Nymon might have been an experiment, but Rogue shouldn't be.
The leading actor's not British. He was born in Rwanda.
Although he's got British citizenship.
I don't trust RTD at all. And the reason why is because I'm paying very close attention to the wording in these interviews that he's been doing over the months. And first it was, as far as being renewed for Disney, his response was, I think we'll get an answer after Series 2 airs. Then he says, we will get an answer after it airs. That was the plan all along. So right there, it's like, okay, you've obviously either fibbed or you made a mistake. But now with this new interview, not only is he saying that we don't have a deal still with Disney, it's all up in the air, he's even lumped the BBC into it. And I think what might happen here is that what you're saying is with this experiment, is that if this deal fails with the BBC, with Disney, I think the BBC is just going to be fed up and say, you know what, we tried to save it. It didn't work. We're done. Like, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to start shopping the show around to all the other streamers and have to go through this all over again. I think it was experiment is a perfect word for this.
And
whether or not.
And if I can jump in on that, Brian, because it's an interesting one. You've done a great Miss Marple there, because that word experiment can indicate quite a lot of interesting things. And the other thing is, me, Rachel, Jeremy, we've been on our streams before. We've had some shows on Sundays when we've discussed, does the BBC actually know what it's doing with Doctor Who? Has it ever known what it was doing with Doctor Who? And my hunch is, it's always been slightly embarrassed about Classic Who. It didn't understand it. And all the way through. So when RTD had it kind of shooting for the stars in 2005, of course they go with it, and he's the savior. They've called on him again to be the savior again. The second coming, ironically, like him and Chris Eccleston. But I just think if RTD finds he hits treacle and the ratings don't work and the streamers don't come in for it, I do think, like you say, Brian, I think the BBC will go, well, if RTD can't save it, we don't know what to do with it. What
they
do you
can
reckon?
start doing it cheaply again with good writers and not using massive amounts of money. And I suspect that is what RTD meant by using the word experiment, that it could be reversed. Tried it, didn't work, go back to the old format.
Although he did allude to making it a cheaper program again, with lower budget, and he even like claustrophobic sets, I believe was how he phrased it.
Yes,
a minimalist, more like a modern Doctor Who, but at the same time, more like the classic series. My only gripe with that would be, you sure just get. I just want Russell gone. I want him gone.
I can't see it going low budget. Not when it's had the budget.
No,
I can't see it. I don't think people.
Right. I'm sure there's a way to do it right if it was a low budget.
Oh yeah.
But
you need the writers. You got to have good writing.
Absolutely.
But I am irritated by that quotation, and I'll just bring Michael Nemo in here because he's given us an American viewpoint. I live in Texas, and if not for YouTube, I'd hear nothing about Doctor Who. You were saying that, Brian, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
And any character options toys will cost almost double with shipping. And that's all they seem to be bothered about in some respects. But the quotation in the middle there, which I really, and I know he does exaggeration, understatement. He never quite can do a kind of middle line, RTD. He says, why should we be the humble little show being made in a shoe cupboard? What, that made shows like Deadly Assassin, that made shows, I mean, it didn't need much, as a lot of us are saying. And the horror fan rock, we've mentioned that recently. I mean, that's just in a few sets in a lighthouse, and it is a top-notch, suspenseful drama for 4 episodes.
Or Midnight.
Yeah.
Midnight, yeah. I've just recently rewatched Ghostlight for my channel. And that's all in one place.
Yeah. I mean, it's awful to say low budget because it almost sounds sniffy, but when he says, it's a humble little show being made in a shoe cupboard, you mean when it was really,
good.
Yeah. Writers then had to work in adversity and had to be imaginative. And even then, the ambition in some of the special effects, they got away with it sometimes. And good for them. I just think it's a shame. He's kind of doing it down. He says that the classic Doctors were pompous. Now he says it was made on I don't know. I sometimes wonder if he's kind of...
Was he being unpleasant by saying they were pompous, or was he saying this was a good thing? Because that is
it wasn't because that's why he wanted Chris Eccleston. He wanted the gritty northerner, Mancunian.
Well, a different one, yes. But that was a different Doctor. So I did not read that he disliked pomposity in the Doctor, but he wanted to change. You see,
I think Russell T Davies has painted himself into a corner, and I think he's
he's
trying to find a way out of it.
Yes,
I think he just bit the hand that feeds with that remark he made about he hopes that the streaming service bubble will burst. And it's like this is the platform that you want to have your show on. Yet at the same time, he's I kind of hope this streaming stuff where people can binge watch their shows, etc. I just hope it goes away and that's over and done with. It's
no.
go away.
That wasn't what he was against. He was against people piling huge amounts of money into shows and hoping that they will succeed just because a lot of money's been spent on them. And the idea of them being bingeable, I don't think he's worried about at all.
He does make a point about the streaming thing, and I'll come to that in a minute, because he talks about it's like an arms race. He thinks it's gone out of control. He references an example where he asked for 200 extras. I assume it's for the finale. And he said, but some other streamers had 500. And he just said, this is ridiculous. Your budget just gobbles up more and more and more if you're going to compete with it. I understand that. But
so he doesn't. He's saying, I don't want to do that. It's probably a bad idea. Don't care.
But I mean, you just CGI the extras in.
Well, but the other thing is, Doctor Who was up against Star Wars in the 70s, and it survived. Doctor Who was against the Buck Rogers. It was up against Buck Rogers in the 25th century. It survived. It was up against
totally different. Yes, if you're going to try to be exactly the same, you're not going to win.
Yes,
it's got to be different.
Even with a streamer, it's still a BBC production, and it will not compete level pegging on the budget. So don't try.
No, absolutely. Yes. And I think he's saying exactly that. But he's been sort of forced to by pragmatic issues of running with Disney. He's got to be good to Disney, but he knows that it is not anything other than a poison chalice, frankly.
Sorry, Jeremy, I will come to you now.
Oh, that's all right.
I'll just say this, though, that he said in the interview, he said the budget gets spent in a second. Again, I know it'll be exaggeration, but he said the budget gets spent very, very, very quickly, even though it's a higher budget. So I ask myself, I've seen The Church on Ruby Road, the 3 specials, and I've seen 8 episodes. I can't really see where the budget has gone. And is it been, I mean, we know that big LED screen for Boom, and a lot of us actually said at the time, couldn't you have spent the money on other things and just done a decent set? Yes. Go in a quarry, you don't need to do this. I sometimes wonder if they're spending the money on the wrong things, Jeremy.
I mean, it's taken them a long time to come to the conclusion that actually we don't need to spend tons of money to do good Doctor Who.
If you've got a lot of money, you will spend it fast.
Of course, but also if you've got a lot of money, you'll just carry on spending it because you'll say, well, we'll just keep getting more and more money from the license payers. They'll just keep paying up.
Yeah.
You
You see, as I said earlier, Raymond Williams, he says, I don't understand why RTD gets so much rope. His first 9 episodes were dire. Sorry, for the first 12. The thing is, Raymond Williams, that's why my hunch is the BBC don't know who to turn to after RTD. I know the rumours are Stephen Moffat, but would they really just churn around the same pond? There's a point when everybody knows creatively that's not a good idea. But I just think they are clueless about you can't move away from RTD. It was probably a good hunch of theirs to ask him back since after Chibnall, but he's decided to go in such a strange direction. I personally wouldn't have picked fantasy. I personally wouldn't have gone for high comedy. And I personally wouldn't have gone for song and dance routines and breaking the fourth wall. That's not where I would have started.
Exactly. At all, any of those points, completely agree.
You terrible contrarian, terrible.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I've got to be against you there. No.
I'm going to go against it. No. So Peter Harrington, Verity Lambert managed in those early days and made mad. And look, we all scoff in a nice way about the Web Planet and those. They did try. And I have to say, with a little bit more luck, etc., it would have probably worked. And I think we can all list some early ones that were beautifully done.
I thought it was superb when I was a kid watching it. I still think it's great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, But you see, so I mean, but the other point he was saying at the top there was about the stream element. And he did talk about streamers, didn't he? And he said he's hoping that the time of many streamers is over. He's hoping that a lot of streamers don't survive. And I think in some ways he was very honest, and he said, I'd like it to come back to there's only a few. Everybody it spends a lot less. And we have common sense where we do a drama about people in a kitchen. And he did reference that. And I agree with that.
Maybe it's time to go back to having a producer and writers rather than a show writer who oversees absolutely everything, including the writing.
Yeah.
Because it seems to be getting a bit chaotic. Whereas if you're producing, but you're not directly involved with the writing, I don't know if you can still hear me. I've just frozen. Can you hear me?
No. Yes.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Then I've forgotten what I was saying. You might get some consistency back and some better writing, fresher ideas, and just keep churning them out that way instead.
I mean, David Harding's got a good point here.
Yeah.
It's that old business logic. You spend all the money you were budgeted, even if you don't need to, because if you don't, you'll get less next year. Councils do it. Everybody does it. It's well known. And so it's true. I mean, look at season 12 as a really good example. You had Ark in Space, Never Beacon used twice for 2 stories. It's science fiction. There's ways around this. You can do it. I mean, that was genius to have 2 of the stories roughly the same set. Sometime experiment was all on location. I mean, location. I know location shoots can be expensive. What were you saying, Brian? Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying when I was a child, that right there, what they did with the Ark in Space, and then again with Revenge of the Cybermen, that absolutely blew me away as a child. I got the premise of it, that it was a different time, and I was so fascinated by how the set looked different here and the set looked different there. And there was actually a crew aboard the ship, and I loved it. And as you're saying, it's a perfect way to get around some budgetary constraints. Was be a little more clever with how you're spending the money on it. And we all know that RTD did that in the first series with Eccleston. They had Satellite 5, and then at the end, totally different.
Yeah,
but you could tell it was the same thing, but they just redressed it. And that was well done.
Yes, and I'm all for that. That's how you do it, isn't it? I just wanted to reference one thing here from the quotation before. There's plenty more we're going to look at. It's the second paragraph when he says, you'd be a fool to knock Doctor Who to say it won't survive. It's always survived. There's been radio shows, novels, comic strips, and like I said earlier, none of which I want other than the TV program still dominating. I do not want us to turn into and. Did you notice? I mean, you quoted it, didn't you, Simon, about he mentioned BBC 3, we could go dark. He said he had 28 versions in his head. I mean, for God's sake. But isn't it interesting that the version he's delivered us is frothy fantasy? And he says, if you go dark, behind the sofa, scare the kids, it has to be late on BBC 3. So he's saying it can't be done, basically.
But he's saying that he hasn't got the opportunity to do that. He hasn't got the funding to do that. That's not what Disney has asked for. I think is what he's saying.
Could I ask a question? Having watched a lot of British programs, like we're growing up, especially in the 2000s, like I remember seeing the Catherine Tate show for the first time. I was absolutely stunned, although I loved the show, stunned by the language. I could not believe the things they were saying. And here in Canada, they changed the laws back in '92, where I think it was after 9 o'clock, you were basically allowed to swear on TV, and violence. It's basically the sky's limit. You can do what you want after 9 o'clock here in Canada. But I always wondered, well, how, if you're saying this about how Russell T Davies cannot put that version of Doctor Who on earlier, how was this done with like the Catherine Tate show? Like at what time did that air? I just couldn't fathom, like, how did they get away with that kind of language on TV?
It would have been after the watershed
Absolutely,
at
yeah.
some point.
Oh, and that's
Yeah.
being a Canadian, that would mean what time?
9 o'clock.
9
9 o'clock.
We see Doctor
9
Who.
o'clock.
Doctor Who with the Chris Eccleston era, we had sexual innuendo, and it was going out at 7.
I
You know, I've
guess
seen
innuendo for people who could read it as such, but for kids it wasn't, so it didn't matter.
No,
I think that's how they got away with it.
It's just, and you know, you had more scares in it then. I mean, you've got Mark from Mr. and Mrs. Who here. Let's be honest, series 1 just wasn't good enough. It didn't showcase how amazing Doctor Who could be, had a Doctor Who was far too human and totally lacked the character's essential eccentricity and quirkiness, and had some dreadful episodes. So I'm going to show you some pointers and you can join in if you want, because this is all based on our judgment of RTD. Whether there's going to be a season 3, whether Disney's walking away, whether, you know, streaming is not the future. Now, Professor Who, now this is really interesting, and please come in thread and yourselves at any point. He made this summary of the RTD era. I felt like an old grump for not being very excited about Disney deal before season 14-1, but I still feel the same way. There were many things I loved in the later series, but overall, this era has felt like it marketing become more important than the stories and characters so far.
That isn't RTD's fault.
Do you think, Rachel, you're not in there?
No, I don't think that's necessarily RTD's fault. They have put out a lot of stuff, though, for marketing.
Yeah.
An awful lot.
I sometimes think, yes, I think I know half the story sometimes. There's been so much talk about this deal that it kind of took the excitement from the show itself, at least for me. But I couldn't care less about who pays for the show. Just give me some good Doctor Who. I know that the show can be good even with cheap effects and clumsy sets. Yeah. I mean, we science fiction fans tend to look beyond that anyway. I mean, the idea. Yeah. I mean, in 4 to Doomsday, the cricket ball effect. Yeah, the cricket ball effect with Peter Davison and 4 to Doomsday. I mean, it wasn't the best executed effect, but I kind of understood the logic of what was going on. And I know some scientists...
I worked on that.
Huh?
I actually did that.
Did you?
Yeah, I recorded the from the studio. Yeah.
Simon, tell us about it for a second. Go on, I've referenced something you did.
There were a lot of retakes of Adric piling the cable up by the door, I seem to remember. But there was nothing interesting to say about it. That is the thing about recording from the studio. Most of it is very dull indeed. It's great to talk about later, but actually sitting there in the dark for hours and hours and hours is dull.
Well, just to tell everybody in the thread, so in 4 to Doomsday, your role was what?
I was a videotape operator, recorder. I sat there, waited until the studio was ready, and I hit the go button on 2 machines, and they would both record merrily. I did it on 2-inch quadruplex machines or 1-inch helical boxes, and that was it. And at the end of the thing, I would stop, play back, and say, "Yes, it's clear." Buzz. That was my job.
They're still recording on 2-inch, were they?
Well, I did do so. Yes.
All right.
Yes, the 5 Doctors was a 2-inch thing. Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
There you go. You see,
we have to do it like that now.
There'll be little snippets, and you've done other stuff as well. Of course, it's never that easy just to say you've done one thing, is it? So,
I killed Adric for a start.
Oh, you'll get lots of fan mail now. Maybe I couldn't get excited about Disney deal exactly because I know that the show can be good without record-breaking budgets. Doctor Who has often reached its highest highs without big money. Now, you referenced Ghostlight and your review on your channel, Rachel. And I think you referenced Midnight as well today. But yeah, I always think based on The Siege, You're Trapped, Horror Fan Rock's classic in the Lighthouse. That's all it needs. That's why RTD constantly talking about this deal and then releasing the series with little character development and weak arc resolution based on fan service and rehashing classic Who felt disappointing and made me less excited about the current version of the show. Is there anything you want to nibble away at there? Because I'm thinking, well, yeah. The Sutek thing the Sutek thing, it wasn't needed, actually.
Not at all.
So
That
it
Sutek thing
looks as though Looks
I
as though
would,
we're
I would
agreeing
love
on
to
that.
be right about saying Sutek lied and leave it at that.
Yeah. So last thing here from Professor Who, the one unquestionable reason why Disney deal was good, if I remember correctly, was that, as Russell Davies said, it had allowed to release a new series every year without long breaks. Now that's definitely not the case, and I'd be kind of relieved if we left all this behind. They do seem to be playing around with the timings, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
And I do recall him saying that the beauty of having this streamer and all the rest of it is we're going to have some. Mind you, I don't know if he meant something every year, like a spin-off when there's no Doctor Who sort of thing. I'm just wondering.
It's possible, but this is what we've all wanted. We wanted after what happened with, after what happened with Jodie Whittaker. We just wanted the show back, and now we've been reduced to 8 episodes a year and a Christmas special, and now he was told, hopefully, I think he actually did say at the beginning, hopefully no gap. And now what's happening is it's like, yeah, we're gonna have another season. Now we don't even know if the third one's happening, but they're doing this war between the land and the sea thing. It's like, being a Who fan, all I want to see is Who. I want to see the Doctor. And if that means axing even the Christmas special, because I didn't grow up watching Christmas special. I mean, I know the new series, they introduced them. But if it comes to, you notice that they cut away when it started. David Tennant, I think, had 13 episodes and then a Christmas special.
Yep.
And then at one point it went down to 12.
Yep.
And then at one point it dipped again. And now we're at the point of 8 plus a Christmas special, and then after 2 seasons, it's like, now we're going to have land in the sea, and then we're going to come back again. It's like, you do that, you're gone. Well, One more break in the year, I think they're gone.
Well, let me ask Rachel, and then I'll ask Simon who's been in the industry, and then I'll get Jeremy's opinion overall. Right, we've gone from what was the set 13. Star Trek has done it as well. They are getting shorter, I've noticed. So whether they're saying this is because of technology, but it seemed everything got shorter after blooming COVID, I'd noticed too. But if the deal is 2 series of 8 episodes and 5 episodes of a spin-off, why couldn't those 5 episodes be like split between 2 seasons and have 2 seasons of 10? You know what I mean? Why have we gone? Is this just this obsession of RT? Sorry, Rachel. Is this an obsession of RTDs and the BBCs and Disney's? We need the Who-niverse, and so that's why they've done it.
Well, I mean, I can't really answer this question. This is really difficult for me to answer.
And it's very difficult for Russell T Davies to answer it as well.
Yeah.
He does not know what he's writing for.
Can't answer it, can he?
I'm just trying to think, though, Rachel. Why technically? What are they saying about television programs now that they are so complicated and expensive that you need a shorter season? Why are we all getting shorter seasons in the media now? Does anybody know?
Because people binge watch and they're expensive and
costly.
They just,
So it takes a lot of time to produce them, I suppose, with post effects afterwards.
And there's a lot of other programs that are being pushed to go into the physical time slots of a broadcast television station. If you're going to be doing streaming, you're free to do whatever you like or whenever you like and how often you like. And that's something RTD would like, but he doesn't want to have to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on every minute of the show.
And maybe this is also something to do with timing of the cast, which is why they've gone with a spin-off as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that just made me think of that. So
I did think of the practicalities of, well, we had 2 Dr. Light episodes anyway. I know. Anyway, Sir X-Man here. Doctor Who should have gone with Amazon, not Disney. Fact. Now, Amazon, I'm trying to think what they've produced. I'm trying to think desperately because I don't follow every single... Did they do Fellow Travelers? I'm gay. I enjoyed the drama Fellow Travelers. Now, was that on Amazon or was that Prime? I'm trying to work out. Sir X-Man, tell me why you are so kind of clear on Amazon. What's the potential there? Because I don't know, you see. I don't know. Does anybody
think that result would have just been the same?
Well,
I just think that.
part of this is
I don't see why he's picking.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work it out myself. Let's have a look. David.
Prime Amazon, they did Rings of Power, which was supposed to have been the Lord of the Rings. But from what I understand, it's not the Lord of the Rings as Tolkien wrote it, basically. So
it was a prequel, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I haven't watched it, so I can't really judge it. But, so I think we would have had the same. This is why I say we would have had the same sort of thing go on with Doctor.
What I'm interested in on the Amazon or Disney or all the rest of it. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be the Wizard of Oz there. Why am I so big? When I saw the reviews of these two musicals in the West End, one was The Importance of Being Earnest, and the other one was Benjamin Button. And the reviewer, and I've had one reviewer, said The Importance of Being Earnest have gone loud and big and all the rest of it. And then they said the Benjamin Button one had gone smaller and more intimate. And their one judgment was they preferred the Benjamin Button approach, which is also cheaper because it's less ambitious on scale. And you think, why is all TV? This is what I was saying. Why is TV thinking everything louder and bigger and larger in scale is therefore better? How many of us Doctor Who fans have said, can we have Android Invasion where a village is invaded and keep it small scale?
Rather than the cosmos, yeah.
Yeah. I think that has been the problem, and that's on RTD. He's decided that at the end of every season, the universe gets disintegrated, or there's a million Daleks.
We don't know what production pressures RTD has to deal with. He's got a heck of a lot of stuff to juggle, and that continually changes to the production times, the production values, the transmission times. Is it going to stream or not? Who's available? All of these things will affect the way that what he's writing can be formed. And as it changes, he has to adapt it again and again and again. And that is why he says he doesn't want anybody else to touch it, because he's put so much effort into the thing to make the thing hold together.
Yeah, he sometimes stays up till 2 in the morning.
It'll just break.
That's it. X-Man asked a question, so he's given me the answer, which is helpful. Okay. Amazon made The Boys and Fallout, but he also says Amazon would have not let Russell do what he did, and he would have let the Doctor go dark. Well, I like the sound of that. I just don't know evidence-wise if that was possible. I know the BBC are really hands-off with Doctor Who. They've done the deal. They technically own it, but they are not putting any input in at all. So a bit of a worry there. Let me just show you this. Right, second little argument here. It's still on this. It's RTD's choice. My thumbnail that's kind of been the umbrella theme all of tonight in our discussions, whether it's the Christmas trailer or anything, is the importance of Doctor Who not being tarnished. And he said in the interview, Russell T Davies says he's aware of the backlash surrounding the amount of emotion shown by the 15th Doctor. He said there's going to be more of it, so good luck to you if you don't like it. Go and touch grass.
Oh, gosh. I find that incredibly rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do.
But it could be read as rude. On the other hand, he could be saying, I've got good reasons to do this. For example, bringing up the point that the Doctor's soul has been cut in half. And this could be the reason that, we will have more tears. And then there'll be a wonderful re-amalgamation. And we get John Pertwee back.
I mean, if I went along the panel here, because the truth is, we've said various things on streams, I know. I'll ask Brian first because he's new to our stream, and I'm just interested in everybody's opinion on this because I am intrigued. We've had 15 Doctors on TV. I know there's The Fugitive and anyway, but Brian, do you like this choice that's been made that this Doctor is much more emotionally aware of himself, etc.?
No, absolutely not. I look back to Pyramids of Mars when I can't remember the name. Michael Sheard.
Yes.
Michael Sheard's character was upset about Marcus, and Sarah had said like someone just died, and he just was almost like turning his head, saying, what? And he's like, one person has died. How about 1,000? How about millions? And he's like, sometimes I don't think you're not human. And it's like, that's exactly the point. He's not human. And I really think over the years, they've done it was like they said after like shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, whatnot, and they had to adapt Doctor Who for an American sort of time slot of 45 minutes. But it's also, we've got to introduce the romance between the will they, won't they thing. And they did that with Rose and David Tennant. And I think what's happened is they've taken it too far and they've made him too human, and they got to scale that all the way back again. They've got to get rid of, they've got to find a way to let's just drop all of this. No more crying all the time. And make it more
what I think.
Make it more alienating.
Now, Rachel, I understand. Sorry, Rachel, I understand. They've made season 1 and 2 back to back. So in a way, RTD has to say, well, there's more emotion because I wrote him emotion all the way through. I mean, I can't change it. That's
yes,
it.
Exactly. Yes.
It's
sorry, but this is what you're going to get. Yes, rather than hard luck, this is what you're going to get.
This was the mistake of making season 2 with season 1.
Shot himself in the foot with that.
Yeah, but maybe this is what he also means. This is, if we shoot it back to back, this means we can have it every year. We don't have gaps in between.
And then you can only shoot it when he got the funding, when he's got everything else.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not about the gaps.
If they had the ability to.
It's not about the gaps, because we've had gaps before in the 70s. But what happened was that they filmed it in January onwards, so we had the first episode in September onwards, and that's how they did it. So we always experience gaps. It's just the fact is they keep changing the gaps, shorter, longer, whatever, to suit their requirements. Basically,
got their minds.
Now,
not the view.
Michael Nemo's really trying to help us here, and it's great because I'm not good on movies. I'm terrible, really. So you're giving us a bigger scale example. Just look at the difference between Godzilla -1 and then Godzilla X-Con. One with a lowered budget and won an Oscar. The other just American mouth breathing drivel. And this is you're making the point that we were talking about budget. Do we need this big budget? We're going to lose the arms race, so why are we chasing it? And Doctor Who was always up against those big American imports, and it held its own very, very nicely. I think you make your point well, Michael Nemo, there. Jeremy, I know we had our discussion about you walking away from Doctor Who, but how far was that because of the presentation of this Doctor? I mean, we've all made the argument that he needs to be more cold and clinical and alien, but can we just speculate for a second? Is RTD onto something to say, but nowadays we need to show the kids a different way of behaving, and this Doctor's the one who will show it?
Yeah, that's his view, but his view is not shared with everybody else. That's the thing.
Well, you say it.
Yeah,
if it was shared, you wouldn't have to say it.
Yeah, you've got to have a character that is appealable to everybody, the viewers, the fans, etc., etc. And I don't think we've got that at the moment. We haven't got the writing either. The caliber of the writing is terrible, absolutely terrible.
But this,
this is coming from a writer who we know can write well. He can also write bad, so he needs to stop writing very bad scripts and start writing some good ones. And then we might see a difference. We might see people engaging, fans and viewers engaging with this program. But the problem is I think Russell T Davies needs to just walk away.
I think, Rachel, we talked about the emotional element and the acting of it and all the rest of it. And as Raymond Williams says here, fake tears aren't emotional. It looks fake because it is. Now, when we've talked about this, RTD has said when he saw Ncuti's early performances, he rewrote things to show more of that emotion, and it was Ncuti's choice to show emotion. So this is on Ncuti, actually. Ncuti's acting decision to show emotion. But the trouble is, as Raymond Williams is saying, in a lot of the shots, it just turns to him close up and you just see a tear on a cheek. It's not really adding anything.
I don't think it does add a lot. I don't like the Doctor crying anyway. I've never have liked it. But yeah, I don't think it adds a lot.
It adds less the more often they do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's less. That's right. That's the one I'm trying to go for, Simon. There's less impact. And it seems to be over anything, almost anything he cries over. And
because he's half a soul.
Yeah.
Mel shows that, and she slapped him up for it. And I thought that was the best bit ever. That was really good.
But is it? I'm going to go there. Is this because they really don't know how to write for men anymore? Toxic masculinity. So we need to always go for this pathetic drip of a man. We need to show a weaker, more fragile man. I do think in a lot of media now, they're very good at writing for women now. I mean, thank God. But I think they don't know how to write for a man in 2024.
Well, they didn't write for Jodie very well.
True.
No, they didn't.
True.
I don't agree with that. I just think that maybe Russell has decided that this is how I'm going to write from now on. Like when he said that, it's a conscious decision for him. There's no reason to do it. When he said that I'm gay, so this is the only way that I know how to write now.
Yeah.
All I can think is, then you're not a very good writer if that's all you can do. Why does all of your writing have to be centered around either your sexual orientation or anything else within your life that ties into that? If that's all that you can write about, then you're in the wrong business or you're on the wrong show.
Can I? Sorry, Rachel. My older head than yours. I might forget what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Mine's just a tangential one, but I just want to park it rather than discuss it really. But in the American election, Obama a couple of times talked to black men about how they should vote, and he basically made the hint that they shouldn't be. But basically, there was an element about what their wife wants, and that they should be. And I don't know. There's an element from what Matthew Pounder's saying here, where I feel as though. I don't know if it's the left. I don't know if it's people who say they're progressive, who seem to have a dim view, sadly, of black characterization of males, and I think that's terrible. I really am worried about Ncuti is our first black doctor, and he should be getting a better service.
He should be getting a better service, for sure. Absolutely, 100%. The writing is not strong enough. I think once he actually gets a better script, we might see something different from him.
Everything he's saying now is not going to change what happens in series 2.
No, that's true.
It should be us that be getting a better service, the viewers and the fans.
Yeah, true. But if the writing is weak, he can only do so much with the writing in order to bring it to life. So the conscious decisions to cry, if the writing gets better, may no longer become conscious decisions to cry, and it will look less fake. I think, and to go back to what Brian was saying as well, I think what RTD is doing is fitting in with the modern norms that we've seen a lot with Disney, of writers putting themselves into the scripts and their experiences into the scripts, and which has caused a lot of problems and issues and with the writing and money and things like that. And that's not the way forward. The way forward is to write for everybody, to cater for everyone.
And yes, and it's not, and it's to see us as human. I know he's an alien, but the rest of us are just humans, and we shouldn't be seen as the label that's the superficial label. We are all human. We can all love, hate, and all the rest of it. And so there shouldn't be a kind of distinction made as to how you kind of depict certain sub categories of human. They just shouldn't do that. So yes, I do think it's a bit. I find it funny how progressive writing sometimes falls into other problematic tropes. Sometimes,
Can I interject and remind everybody that the Ncuti doctor has often said, "Why am I scared? Why am I running away?" And the Tennant doctor said, "Is this the person I am now?"
Yeah.
They're both confused. They've both been mucked about with. And it's said they've been mucked about with by the toy maker. I hate the way that they used magic to do it, even if this is sufficiently advanced technology to be thought of as magic argument, which is a get out if ever I heard one. There is the opportunity to put things right there, which has been seeded many times.
Can I just say also, in the Christmas trailer, this is the first moment you see that acting wise, Ncuti can play two parts, two doctors.
Yes.
And in the old series, in the classic series, we always had a doppelganger episode. Peter Davison in Arc of Infinity, Tom Baker, Face of Evil. There's been loads of moments. Patrick Troughton, Salamander. There's been, I could go on. There's been loads of moments when the actor, the main actor, gets that moment to play a doppelganger, and it challenges them or shows them a bit of range and all the rest of it. I hope, although because it's a Christmas episode, my hope, I think, is going to not last, which is he can show gravitas, because I think I recall talking to Rachael about Boom, where we said by making Ncuti more still and stood on a mine, it gave a better performance.
I agree.
Yes. Much more closed in. And sometimes you need that, especially Ncuti, because he's like, wham, bam, bam, bam. Bring it in. Which is one of the reasons why I'm actually watching The Importance of Being Earnest. I couldn't get a ticket, but seeing it at the cinema, I'm interested to know what he actually does, where it's more honed. It will be more quote unquote honed in, so to speak. But also he would have had a set amount of time to rehearse and develop the character more than perhaps what he would have had here. So I'm interested to see what the difference is.
Did you see the interview quote that I think Stephen Moffat said that for Boom, Ncuti Gatwa was concerned it was too boring, it was too lame, that the version he would have to do, that the script wasn't fired up for him.
That tells me then he was going to find that a challenge.
Yes.
And actors like being challenged.
Actors should be challenged.
Absolutely.
I speak as an actor.
Yeah. So, yes. Do you want an emotional doctor? I think most of the thread, if not all, are saying the panel.
If I may,
go on, Brian.
The last quote that came across on the feed there was something about a good actor not being able to just cry on cue, but to wrestle with their emotions and show that instead. And I do think that like one of the best moments ever was when Tom said goodbye to Liz Sladen. The end of Hand of Fear. They said that they were both trying not to cry or to let it show on camera, and it did actually, because they had worked so closely over a couple of years, that no, the doctor didn't cry saying goodbye to Sarah Jane Smith. She didn't cry, but you could tell it was really hurting both of them immensely. Like, he was sad to see her go. She was sad to see him go, even though she wanted to. But you could feel it and you can see it, but you don't need to see the tears flowing.
No, I mean, Tom Baker, the fourth Doctor in that scene, he kind of goes, he has a line where he kind of puffs out, doesn't he? Which is a kind of a version of saying, "Oh, believe me, this hurts." And Yeah, there's different ways of showing emotional angst, emotional turmoil, emotional conflict than actually going straight to tears. None of us are arguing that a man shouldn't cry. None of us are going down that basic road. What we're saying is,
I do it at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Me too, yes.
Yeah, and it's important that we
I'm
do.
watching a good show.
Yeah. It's
If-
just
if they don't use the fact that he has said that he has been emotionally destroyed. If we don't address his almost ADHD behavior, I will be very upset.
well, we'll soon find out. Well, we might. Now, Rachel, I'll start with you first.
Okay.
Did you know that Ncuti has been nominated?
Oh,
He's been nominated
really?
as a best actor in a drama series. So maybe all that emotional crying is working.
Which drama
For
series?
Yeah.
So this is for the Critics' Choice Awards.
Right.
But there you go. And of course, this was from Gary Lee, because he noticed that Russell Davies obviously was promoting this, and you would. He's the showrunner, and it was joined by certain other people, Cara Vorderman and all the rest of it, because it's a group instinct, really. But I honestly feel as though because a box has been ticked in Doctor Who, that the media lovies, because this is a media lovey nomination, have picked Ncuti when actually, I'm sorry, I'm trying. I haven't seen evidence of best actor.
I agree.
I agree as well. Okay, now it'll be a huge honor for him to actually get a nomination. To be nominated for something is an amazing feeling. So, props to Ncuti, but he's got major competition.
Oh, yes.
He's up against
there you go.
Eddie
There you
Redmayne.
go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, Jeff
They've all
Bridges.
been better written.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all got a suspicion, if you're going to be very honest, and honesty should be what it's done, it's merit. Jeff Bridges, the old man, Ncuti Gatwa, Doctor Who, Eddie Redmayne, Dave the Jackal, I wish I could pronounce that name, Shogun, Rufus Sewell, the diplomat, and Anthony Starr, the boys, which was referenced earlier by Mike and Nemo. But the thing is, there's a tick box game going on. This is my problem with this. So it is the game now that a media company like BBC does its tick boxing, following all their production values, not too worried about whether they tarnish a show. I'm going back to my thumbnail, but do it for what's seen as the right reasons. They get nominated. They won't win, but they get nominated. So it's seen as prestigious. It's seen as they're doing the right thing. It's a pat on the back. And everybody goes on, and it's media lovies and companies saying, well done, you keep doing more of that, you keep doing more. The rest of the viewing public are disappearing onto YouTube or disappearing onto some other streaming platform and not watching this. I just think, oh, well done. The media has rewarded the media for making a decision that the media want you to do, but it's got nothing to do with Muggins here who watches it.
And I suspect it has got very little to do with anybody in production either.
What do you mean by that? Sorry, just because
I mean, RTD wouldn't have had any control over that. None of the actors either. It's as you said, it was done in order to up the ratings, to make the show look better, to please the lovies, as you put it. But it's not all that splendid in terms of giving any validity to the award.
No, this is what I mean. Anyway, so Jeremy, I think you were agreeing with my cynicism a bit, weren't you?
Yeah, I fully agree with you, and particularly when you got Carol Vorderman chirping in on the text, that tells you everything. I mean,
it is. It's the media.
She's a Labour lovey.
Yeah. Everybody's patting each other on the back, and it's gone tribal. We talk about Doctor Who fandom's gone tribal, but look at the media producers; it's gone tribal, and
it's a London-centric crowd.
Brian,
can I ask your help? I can't remember which year it was. I know that David Tennant was the Doctor, but it was an award show, and it was for Best Actor, I believe. And one of the actors, I cannot recall his name. It was the actor who played the chief in Life on Mars. John Sim was always
yeah.
What's his name?
Oh dear.
That really tough,
Yes.
don't mess with me, chief. That actor did such a superb job, and I'm pretty sure that might have actually been what he was up against. And when they announced that David Tennant won the award, the camera actually shot back to the other actor. And the look on his face was, "You have got to be kidding me." And as much as the Doctor Who fan that I am, I was actually able to sit back and go, you know what? Yeah, I can see that.
And to be honest, Hollywood has been like this forever. I mean, I remember, to get a Best Actor awards Oscar, you would have to play, a gay dying actor, Philadelphia. Do you know what I mean? You had to play, that was it. And so it was certain tick box issues. And I'm a top straight actor, so I'm going to play this dying gay person. Plaudits, please. Plaudits. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm cynical. Hollywood loves that, especially an actor who wants to have a wart on their face and lose their hair with a strange wig and look a bit rough. Give them an Oscar straight away, especially if it's the right issue that's being covered.
Glenster.
Oh yeah,
I actually didn't like that movie. So go figure. I didn't like Philadelphia.
Yeah, I didn't either. As a gay man, I got sick of seeing the same old issue shown in the same old way, even though it's an important issue. It was always sad, tragic, which it is. But you think, I need something upbeat, please. I need to be cheered. I can't just keep saying that if you're gay, you die. If you're gay, you die. If you're gay, you AIDS and die. Please show me something different, please. Michael Nemo's telling me to check out Emma Thompson's BBC interview where she says the best advice she got was to never sigh and cry sparingly. Do you know what, Michael Nemo? Do you remember Emma Thompson's series? I think it was called Emma. She wrote the script. She wrote the comedy. She acted. I actually really liked her in that. I really did like Emma Thompson. I mean, I'm not doing the politics, but yeah. Well, she's right. I mean, it's sparingly. Don't overuse it. My last bit of news here is the war between the land and the sea. That seems to be the logo. There you go. How exciting.
How generic.
Yeah, I've got enough. I when I go on my software to look at different typeface, and typography, I'm thinking, oh, well, yeah, that. But it's from the, because they're finished, what do you call it? They're finished filming now. It's a wrap. And so there you go. The war between the land and the sea. And it looks as though, what would you call that? A bit military? I don't know.
Yeah, it does look military to me.
Yeah.
I was thinking, was there any typeface like that in sort of like World War II or something like that? I would know because I wasn't there, but
I've seen something similar to this before. It was the television series season 2 for War of the Worlds, 1989. Terrible. Both season 1 and 2, they were absolutely atrocious. But season 2. That font there looks very familiar.
Yeah.
And being War of the Worlds. Yeah, I can see. I don't know where they got it, but there's a definite similarity.
The typography is a bit like that spray, Second World War tanks and the white. You'd spray it does look a bit like that. But mind you, well done, pure historical. The war between the fans and the Beeb. That's it. He's got his own version. He's got his own spin-off. You might as well make money pure historical. I mean, there might be, it might be worth it. So there you go. Has that got you excited to finish off our program?
I wonder. This is a bit frightening. The land and the sea, the war between, sounds a little bit like between the river and the sea.
Oh, yeah. Don't go there. Oh, gosh.
That's probably why they did it. No, the BBC.
Well, we won't mention it, but no. Well, what I will say is that military typeface looks gritty. If you had it on the side of a tank, it would look really gritty. So I've just got a hope upon hope upon hope. But I am one of those who I'm not. Sarah Jane Adventures was fine, but it wasn't Doctor Who. Torchwood was fine in parts, but it wasn't Doctor Who. I want more Doctor Who. And I don't feel as though I've had Doctor Who. You know, I mean, I want Doctor Who to be recognizable Doctor Who. So you can give me 8 episodes.
They've got to be spin-offs associated with, but Doctor Who, as you say, should be Doctor Who.
Well, you are in big trouble now. You're my
sorry.
naughty step contrarian. I think
I disagree with you.
What do you think, Thread? I think he's been more Santa Claus than contrarian tonight. I think.
I think being Santa has mellowed him.
Yeah, I know.
The Christmas.
I'm an honest lad, you see. You know, I'm actually a green politician, and I've been keeping that under wraps.
Oh well,
It's a particularly clever idea for a politician to do. But there you go.
Well, I mean, we had a. This is right. I'll just remind you. This is you, Simon. The funny thing is,
let me say, all the things I've agreed with you about the negative aspects of Doctor Who. Do not, for me, remove all the brilliant parts. There is so much high quality, wonderful stuff in all of these episodes that we have been panning that I am happy to watch them. I have to work hard to find it, mind you. And it takes time and effort to do it, but it is worth the effort. It should not have to be that hard. But the stuff is there. It is worth it.
You have to assume most people are casual viewers and they'll maybe watch it for the first 10 minutes. You've got to win them over. You can't assume. And
I agree. Yes.
So
that's the pragmatism with which I agree. But
we can't
say the program is bad, misses all those other things, and say the program is unmarketable is correct.
We can't be indulgent either, because we're coming up to the 3-hour mark, and we appreciate everybody who stuck with us.
Wow.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody in the thread. You've really been so supportive, full of fire and venom and support and ideas. Obviously, my panel have been working like Trojans. Thank you very much. Gosh,
happy Christmas.
Yeah, here we go. But thank you, Rachel. Now tell us, shout about your channel, what you're up to.
My channel is Chat About It, Don't Chat About It at @chat_about_it. And today I released a review on Ghostlight. So please do check that out. And tomorrow we're back to controversial issues. And we are talking about the rumors that are flying everywhere. That is the Harry Potter HBO series and the potential race swap of Severus Snape.
Oh, yes. Oh,
surprise.
It'd be tasty. I wonder what
I have been asked for my opinion.
Simon, don't worry. I won't forget. So, Simon, people tend to say they like Simon's voice and they'd like him to read to them in bed. I don't know. It gets all a bit funny. But go on, Simon. Tell you.
Well, I'll follow that one up and say you can listen to me anytime you like by picking up my podcast, Torty Talks, TORTYTALKS, in which I read the entirety of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, plus Alice Through the Looking Glass and quite a number of other things, and Winnie the Pooh, which I'm particularly fond of, which is remarkably similar to quite a lot of writing by Douglas Adams. But the thing I would like to point out is the Pentagon has been saying that UFOs, or UAPs as they now call them, very probably exist, but there's no evidence to say they exist, but we're keeping lots of information back. So why are they hiding stuff if there's nothing to hide, which is a bit suspicious? A huge amount of information is coming out and being held back. Here's my little thought. That science fiction programs basically kicked off at the same time as the Roswell incident kicked off. And I suspect that this has been allowed and indeed cherished in order to soften us up for the realization that we are not alone in the universe.
Well, we have not been alone tonight, thanks to the thread and thanks to the panel. Oh, what a segue. Hey, no. So,
brilliant.
I mean, no.
Don't forget to mention Planet of the Daleks, Brendan.
Yes, yes. Well, we over Christmas, you will see we are going to land on your lovely little online doorsteps a Planet of the Daleks review and a Robots of Death review, just in case you fancied it. So, yes, look out for that. So, Jeremy, thank you for coming on. Thanks for that reminder as well. Thank you to Simon. Thank you to Rachel, and thanks, Brian. How was that for you?
Thank you. It was great. Thrilled to be here. I know I look absolutely thrilled, but I
3 hours. I'm off it.
I know.
I've been watching you. I've been watching Rachael. In a nice way. And,
there's no other way.
And now it's like when everyone's saying, well, where can I see your things? It's like, well, I'm going to have to go and change my YouTube page, because right now, if you go to the Zero Room, all you're going to see is me playing Pink Floyd guitar solos. So I'm going to have to ditch all that and throw some Doctor Who on there instead. But I had a fantastic time. I'm actually the contrarian Simon, I believe.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure to meet you virtually. Absolute pleasure. I could sit down and listen to you talk about anything.
Well, that's what I do on my podcast.
Anything. Well, I don't know if you noticed, I was actually looking it up on my phone while Brendan was saying his goodbyes. I was like, gotta find this.
Well, Lee Smith is saying, you have a podcast. Yours is more music at the moment, isn't it? As you said.
The Zero Room has a podcast?
That's what they go looking for you. As soon as you appear, they go looking for you.
Because right now, all I've got is comfortably numb for about 5 or 6 or 7 minutes. So I'm going to have to change that.
Yeah.
Or at least hide it.
So, Rachel, go on then. I know we've got... So, Torty Talks, Simon, is your...
Yes.
Torty Talks, everybody. But he is Santa Claus. I'm not sure if you should be asking Santa Claus to be reading to you in bed. He'll come down your chimney. That's as far as it'll go. But
I don't use the chimney anymore. I use broadband. If it's sufficiently broad, of course.
Of course. Look, everybody, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully see you again. See you in a moment after the credits.
Bye.
Bye for now. Like and subscribe. Look out for a special by Generate.